While the agricultural industry spends billions of dollars on chemicals every year, many Chinese farmers use just a few hundred ducks, replacing pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers while generating two sources of income at once: rice and duck meat. What's even more remarkable is that almost nothing goes to waste in this system. The ducks get free food, the rice grows naturally, and farmers can significantly reduce costs by cutting back on chemical inputs. But how can a flock of ducks, roaming almost freely across a rice field, replace tasks that modern agriculture spends billions of dollars trying to accomplish? And if this system is truly so effective, why hasn't it been widely adopted in agricultural powerhouses like the United States? Today, Agriculture Insight takes you inside the remarkable secrets of this symbiotic farming system. An ancient agricultural method making a powerful comeback as farmland continues to deteriorate and the cost of chemical inputs keeps rising. To feed more than 8 billion people, modern agriculture uses around 200 million tons of chemical fertilizers and more than 4 million tons of pesticides every year. These technologies have driven an unprecedented productivity boom in human history, allowing global food production to increase faster than during any previous period. But behind these record-breaking yields lies a very different reality. Crops typically absorb only around 30 to 50% of the nitrogen applied to fields. The rest is lost to the soil, waterways, or atmosphere. Meanwhile, hundreds of weed and insect species have developed resistance to pesticides that were once considered highly effective solutions. As a result, around 40% of the world's agricultural land is now degraded to varying degrees after decades of intensive farming, from the loss of organic matter and soil erosion to declining biodiversity. This reality is changing the way scientists view agricultural success. If the previous century was a race to increase yields, the urgent question today is, how can we maintain those yields for decades to come without degrading the quality of the soil, the foundation of every harvest? This challenge is especially evident in rice production. Every year, the world produces more than 700 million tons of rice, and more than half of the global population depends on it as a staple food. Asia alone accounts for over 90% of global rice production, while also being home to some of the largest intensive rice-growing regions on Earth. That is why, alongside fertilizers, pesticides, and modern machinery, many researchers are turning their attention back to farming systems that have existed for hundreds of years. One of the most famous is the rice duck system, which originated in China, where a seemingly chaotic flock of ducks can replace part of the work that farmers have long relied on chemicals to accomplish. Before a single duck is released into the rice field, farmers must prepare the entire field for them weeks in advance. The seeds are typically sown in specialized nursery trays about 25 to 30 days before transplanting. Once the seedlings reach around 15 to 20 centimeters in height and have developed a strong enough root system to anchor themselves in the soil, they are moved into the field. In many modern rice-growing regions of China, this stage has been largely mechanized using 6 to 8 row rice transplanters, allowing seedlings to be planted at precise depths and spacing. What makes this symbiotic system particularly remarkable is that farmers are not simply growing rice. They are designing an entire habitat where hundreds of ducks can move, forage, and stir the mud beneath the rice canopy. For this reason, many fields are planted with rows spaced about 3 to 5 centimeters farther apart than conventional rice fields, giving the ducks enough room to move between the rows without damaging young plants. This may seem like a minor adjustment, but those few centimeters can determine whether the flock can reach every corner of the field. If the rice is planted too densely, the ducks cannot move evenly, leaving weeds and pests untouched in areas they cannot reach. It may sound simple, but the ducks are not chosen at random. They are typically raised to around 20 days old before being introduced into the fields, strong enough to forage on their own, yet still light enough to avoid damaging the rice. The interesting paradox is that in this system, bigger ducks are not necessarily better. An adult duck, weighing 2 to 4 kilograms, can easily knock down rice plants as it moves through the field. The key is not to choose the strongest duck, but the duck that is best suited to the rice. The timing of release is also carefully calculated. If the ducks are introduced too early, when the rice is still young, they may uproot or trample the seedlings. On the other hand, if they are released too late, weeds may already be well established and pests may have multiplied, significantly reducing the effectiveness of the entire system. For this reason, farmers typically wait around 15 to 25 days after transplanting, when the rice plants have reached approximately 20 to 30 centimeters in height and their roots are firmly established in the soil. Only when the rice, water level, and flock of ducks are all ready does the real work begin. The ducks feed on brown plant hoppers, caterpillars, larvae, and many other insects that threaten rice crops. At the same time, they consume young weeds and algae, helping to significantly suppress unwanted plant growth. As hundreds of ducks continuously swim and move through the paddies, their feet stir the muddy layer beneath the water, improving the environment around the rice roots and limiting the growth of certain weeds. Even their waste becomes part of the cycle. The manure produced throughout the process provides a natural source of nutrients for the rice, helping farmers significantly reduce their reliance on chemical fertilizers. But have you ever wondered why farmers choose ducks instead of geese or Muscovy ducks? The answer lies in the unique environment of the rice field. Geese are typically 2 to 3 times heavier than ducks, making them more likely to trample and knock down rice plants as they move through the fields. Muscovy ducks can live in water, but they are generally less active in shallow flooded fields and are not as efficient as ducks at foraging across large areas. Ducks, on the other hand, seem almost perfectly designed for the job. They love water, move constantly, are highly effective at searching for insects, and are willing to spend most of the day foraging across the rice paddies. However, don't mistake this system for an effortless farming miracle. Its effectiveness depends heavily on maintaining the right duck density, typically around 150 to 300 ducks per hectare. Too few ducks will not be able to control pests and weeds effectively, while too many can muddy the water, damage the rice, and increase the risk of disease outbreaks within the flock. Few people realize that extreme heat can actually pose a greater threat to ducks than cold weather. In southern China, where summer temperatures can exceed 35 to 40 degrees Celsius, heat stress can sometimes be a more serious concern than winter conditions. When their bodies absorb too much heat, ducks eat less, pant heavily, and gather in deeper water or shaded areas to cool themselves down. During prolonged heat waves, some may even die from heat stroke. This forces farmers to adjust their release schedules, allowing the ducks into the fields during the cooler early morning and late afternoon hours, a crucial strategy for protecting the flock's health and maintaining the effectiveness of the entire system. After around 60 to 90 days of working in the rice fields, depending on the duck breed, weather conditions, and production goals of each farm, the flock is removed from the paddies. On many farms, the ducks have already become accustomed to returning to their shelters each day for supplemental feeding and overnight rest, making it much easier to gather them than many people might expect. The reason for removing them is simple. As the rice enters the panicle development and flowering stages, the plants become more sensitive to physical disturbance. If the ducks continue moving through the fields, they can damage the rice panicles and potentially reduce yields at the end of the season. More importantly, once their job of managing the fields is complete, the ducks become a valuable economic product in their own right, generating additional income through meat or eggs. Farmers can sell the ducks for meat or market higher quality eggs, creating a second revenue stream independent of rice prices and helping reduce market risk. Because they have access to natural food sources in the fields, the ducks can grow with relatively low reliance on commercial feed and minimal dependence on antibiotics. This is a key factor behind the premium price of these clean ducks, which can reportedly sell for nearly twice the price of conventionally farmed ducks in China's market. And finally, the moment everyone has been waiting for arrives. Rice Harvest Day, the reward for months of effort from both the farmers and their duck army. Once the rice grains have turned uniformly golden and the panicles begin to bend under their weight, farmers drain the paddies and wait for the soil to become dry enough for combine harvesters to enter the fields. In a single pass, these machines can cut the rice, separate the grains from the panicles, and collect the harvested grain into a storage tank, dramatically reducing the time and labor required compared with traditional manual harvesting. But what's remarkable is that the value of the harvest is not created on harvest day alone. It has been built over months through this very symbiotic relationship. In rice duck systems studied in China and Japan, pesticide costs can often be reduced by 50 to 70%, while chemical fertilizer costs may fall by 20 to 40%. This means farmers can retain more profit per hectare from the very first season, helping address one of agriculture's most critical challenges: the rising cost of farm inputs. After harvesting, the rice is dried, milled, and brought to market, just like conventional rice. The difference lies in how it is produced. Because it relies on fewer chemical inputs and is cultivated within a more natural ecosystem, this rice is often classified as eco-friendly or low-chemical rice. Across many Asian markets, it can command prices around 10 to 30% higher than conventional rice. The reason is simple. Consumers are willing to pay a premium for the safety and sustainability they receive in return. Beyond ducks, China, a country with more than 2,000 years of experience in integrated rice farming, has also developed a wide range of unique symbiotic systems. Among them, the rice fish system is one of the oldest. A notable example in Qingtian County, Zhejiang Province, has been recognized by the FAO as a globally important agricultural heritage system. To operate this model, farmers dig trenches around or between the rice fields, typically 40 to 60 centimeters deep, providing fish with a refuge when water levels fall. Throughout the growing season, fish continuously swim among the rice plants, feeding on insects, larvae, and small aquatic organisms. Their movement also stirs the water, helping increase dissolved oxygen, while their waste provides a natural source of nutrients for the rice. In return, the rice canopy shades the water, helps maintain a stable temperature, and protects the fish from predatory birds. If the rice fish system represents a deeply traditional approach, the rice crayfish system has emerged as a modern goldmine for Chinese agriculture. Widely developed in provinces such as Hubei and Hunan, this system takes advantage of China's enormous domestic demand for crayfish. The crayfish feed on weeds, decaying plant matter, and small organisms at the bottom of the fields, while the burrows they dig can help loosen the soil and improve aeration before the next rice growing season. By producing both rice and crayfish, a highly sought-after aquatic product with strong market demand and relatively high prices, many regions have transformed this system into one of the most profitable forms of integrated agriculture in the Yangtze River Basin. Our first stop is the Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region in northern China, where vast grasslands stretch to the horizon and winter temperatures can drop below 30 degrees Celsius, 22 degrees Celsius. These harsh natural conditions, combined with centuries of herding tradition, have made the region one of the world's most renowned producers of cashmere goats, helping China supply around 60 to 70% of the world's raw cashmere. As spring arrives and temperatures begin to rise, the goats naturally shed the fine undercoat they developed throughout the winter. This brief, seasonal window is the only time herders harvest cashmere. Instead of shearing the animals like sheep, they use specially designed combs to gently remove the ultra-soft down growing close to the skin. Each goat produces only about 150 to 250 grams, 5 to 9 ounces, of premium quality cashmere fiber per year, meaning it can take the fleece of 4 to 6 goats to produce a single high-quality cashmere sweater. After harvesting, the fiber is transported to a processing facility, where it undergoes dehairing, a specialized process that completely separates the fine cashmere down from the coarse, protective outer hairs. It is at this stage that Inner Mongolian cashmere truly stands out. Thanks to the region's extremely cold winters and dry climate, the fibers are typically finer, longer, and more uniform than those produced in many other cashmere growing regions. In addition, a higher proportion of the fiber is naturally white, making it easier to dye and allowing manufacturers to produce exceptionally high-quality yarn. Once selected, the pure cashmere down is thoroughly washed, carded, and spun into fine yarn before being woven or knitted into fabric. The fabric then undergoes softening and finishing treatments to enhance its texture and appearance before being cut and sewn into premium scarves, sweaters, and coats, renowned for their lightweight feel, exceptional softness, and outstanding warmth. Amid the arid landscapes of northern China, where many plants struggle to survive, one remarkable species is helping to halt desertification and restore barren hillsides. It is sea buckthorn, often called the super tree against desertification, because of its extensive root system, which stabilizes soil, reduces erosion, and helps rehabilitate degraded land. But the value of this plant extends far beyond its environmental benefits. It also lies in its small, bright orange berries, which have become a highly valuable agricultural product. After approximately 3 to 5 years of growth, sea buckthorn trees begin producing fruit. By late summer or early autumn, when the berries turn a deep orange, the harvest season begins. Because the berries are extremely small, grow tightly packed along the branches, and bruise easily, hand-picking them one by one is almost impossible. Instead, many farms cut entire fruit-bearing branches and place them in cold storage until the berries are frozen. They are then separated from the branches using vibrating machines or specialized harvesting equipment, allowing the fruit to be removed efficiently while preserving its quality. Immediately after being separated from the branches, the sea buckthorn berries are transported to processing facilities as quickly as possible to minimize nutrient loss. Although each berry is only about the size of a fingertip, sea buckthorn is renowned for its exceptionally high content of natural omega-7, a fatty acid that is relatively rare in the plant kingdom, as well as its abundance of vitamin C and powerful antioxidants. Thanks to this rich nutritional profile, the berries are processed into juices, dietary supplements, cosmetics, and a wide range of premium health and wellness products. As a result, sea buckthorn has become a remarkable crop that not only generates significant economic value, but also plays an important role in environmental restoration and sustainable land management. From the dry, rugged hills, the journey continues to China's modern bell pepper greenhouses. Here, millions of bell pepper plants are cultivated year-round in a nearly closed environment, where temperature, humidity, and light are precisely controlled using advanced technology. Thanks to this production system, many farms are able to maintain consistent yields regardless of the weather outside. Unlike traditional farming methods, most bell peppers in these modern greenhouses are not grown directly in soil. Instead, they are cultivated in growing media such as coconut coir or rock wool. A drip irrigation system delivers the exact amount of water and nutrients to each plant, while sensors continuously monitor temperature, humidity, light intensity, and CO2 levels to automatically control ventilation fans, shade screens, and cooling systems. By carefully regulating the growing environment, this approach not only reduces the risk of pests and diseases, but also significantly lowers water consumption compared with conventional open-field cultivation. After about 3 to 4 months, when the bell peppers have reached the desired size and color, they are harvested entirely by hand to prevent damage to their delicate skin. The peppers are then transported by conveyor belt to be washed and sorted using cameras and sensors that evaluate their color, size, weight, and surface quality. Peppers that meet premium standards are carefully packed and stored under refrigeration before being distributed to supermarkets or exported to international markets. Those that do not qualify as first-grade produce are typically sent for food processing. By combining high-tech greenhouse cultivation with advanced automation, China is able to produce large quantities of bell peppers with remarkably consistent quality throughout nearly the entire year. Every spring, millions of visitors flock to China's breathtaking fields of brilliant yellow rapeseed flowers to admire their spectacular beauty. Yet behind this picturesque landscape lies a massive agricultural and processing industry. Once the blooming season ends, these fields produce millions of tons of rapeseed, the raw material used to make rapeseed oil, one of the most widely consumed cooking oils in China. After the flowers fade, the plants begin developing long seed pods filled with dozens of tiny seeds. When most of the pods turn yellowish-brown and their moisture content reaches the optimal level, combine harvesters are used to collect the crop while minimizing seed loss. The harvested rapeseed is then cleaned to remove stems, leaves, and other impurities before being dried to the proper moisture level, ensuring optimal quality for the oil extraction process. Next, the rapeseed is gently crushed and steamed to soften its cellular structure, allowing the oil to be released more efficiently. The conditioned seeds are then fed into high-capacity screw presses, where the crude oil is extracted. Depending on the processing facility, the remaining press cake may undergo additional extraction to recover any residual oil and maximize yield. The crude oil is then refined through several stages, including the removal of impurities, free fatty acids, pigments, and unwanted odors, producing a clear, stable oil suitable for food processing and cooking. Meanwhile, the protein-rich rapeseed meal is not discarded. Instead, it is commonly used as livestock feed or as a raw material for various industrial applications, ensuring that nearly every part of the rapeseed crop is put to good use. In northern China, where the cool climate and vast stretches of farmland provide ideal growing conditions, flax is cultivated for the production of linen, one of the world's oldest natural textiles. Beyond flax cultivation, China is also one of the world's major centers for linen processing and weaving, where raw flax is transformed into finished fabric for both domestic and international markets. After approximately 90 to 100 days of growth, once the flax reaches maturity, farmers use specialized harvesting machines to pull up the entire plant, rather than cut it. Unlike conventional harvesters, these machines extract the flax from the roots, preserving the full length of the fibers inside the stems before laying the plants neatly in parallel rows across the field. This harvesting method is essential for maintaining fiber quality, as cutting or breaking the stems would significantly reduce the length and strength of the linen fibers. The flax stalks are then either left in the fields or submerged in water to begin the retting process, which uses natural moisture and microorganisms to break down the pectin that binds the fibers to the woody core. This is one of the most critical stages in linen production, as the retting time must be carefully controlled. If the process is too short, the fibers are difficult to separate. If it lasts too long, the fibers become weak and prone to breaking. Once retting is complete, the flax stalks are fed into industrial breaking machines that crush and remove the woody core while preserving the fine outer fibers. These fibers are then combed and aligned in the same direction to produce long, uniform bundles. At many processing facilities in China, large-scale mechanized production lines handle tons of flax every day, transforming coarse stalks into strong, high-quality fibers before they are spun into yarn, woven into linen fabric, and finished for use in the fashion and home textile industries. In many of China's fruit-growing regions, particularly those with a temperate climate, plum orchards are cultivated on hundreds of hectares, producing large harvests for both the domestic market and export. During the peak harvest season, when most of the fruit has ripened and turned a deep purple, farms begin deploying mechanized harvesting systems to handle the enormous volume of fruit within a short period. In large-scale orchards, tree shaker harvesters serve as the primary harvesting equipment. These machines move along the rows of trees and use a hydraulic clamping mechanism to securely grip the main trunk or a large branch of each plum tree. A high-frequency vibration system is then activated, generating powerful yet precisely controlled shaking that is adjusted according to the plum variety and the ripeness of the fruit. Depending on orchard conditions, a single machine can harvest dozens to hundreds of trees per hour, dramatically reducing the time required compared with traditional hand-picking methods. Beneath the tree canopy, an umbrella-shaped catching system or soft conveyor platform is positioned to collect all the falling fruit, minimizing impact damage. This is a crucial step because plums have delicate skin and bruise easily if they hit the ground. Once collected, the fruit is transferred directly onto trucks or intermediate conveyor systems for transport to on-site packing facilities or nearby processing plants, minimizing the time between harvesting and sorting. After collection, part of the harvest is sent for processing into dried plums. At the processing facility, the plums are gently washed using low-pressure water systems to remove dirt and other impurities before passing through a sorting line, where only fruit with uniform size and ripeness is selected for further processing. Next, the plums are spread evenly in thin layers on drying trays to ensure that hot air can circulate uniformly around the fruit. The trays are then loaded into industrial drying chambers, where the temperature and airflow are carefully controlled for several hours. This gradual drying process allows moisture to evaporate while preserving the plum's natural flavor, texture, and characteristic chewiness. Once the plums reach the desired moisture content, the trays are removed from the drying chambers and allowed to cool naturally before undergoing a final quality inspection. The dried plums that meet quality standards are then sealed in airtight or vacuum-packed packaging for long-term storage. Through this process, China is able to transform seasonal fresh plums into dried plum products that can be enjoyed year-round, supplying both the domestic market and export markets. Known as the champagne of the tea world for its refined flavor and complex layers of aroma, Chinese oolong tea is not only a symbol of Eastern tea culture, but also generates more than $21 billion in value each year. To understand what has made it so renowned, we must travel to Fujian province, the region responsible for over 70% of the world's oolong tea production. Unlike many crops that can be harvested mechanically, most oolong tea is grown on mountain slopes ranging from 600 to more than 2,000 meters in elevation, where the steep terrain makes it difficult for machinery to operate. As a result, harvesting is still carried out primarily by hand. During the harvest season, workers begin their day before dawn, picking the leaves while they are still fully hydrated to preserve their best flavor. Each tea shoot is carefully plucked by hand at the precise junction between the stem and branch to avoid damaging the leaves. Unlike green tea, which is typically harvested according to the one bud, two young leaves standard, oolong tea is usually picked as one bud with 2 to 4 mature leaves, as this stage provides the rich and distinctive aroma for which oolong is known. After harvesting, the fresh leaves are quickly transported to processing facilities. They are first sun-withered for about 15 to 20 minutes to initiate oxidation, then spread on bamboo trays for 6 to 8 hours, where they are gently turned at regular intervals. Once the leaves reach the desired softness, they are lightly bruised along the edges in rotating drums to promote oxidation and develop their characteristic aroma. The leaves are then kneaded, pressed, and rolled multiple times to shape them before being dried to reduce moisture and stabilize their flavor. Finally, the tea is sorted, packaged, and prepared for market. As the fastest-growing plant on Earth, capable of growing nearly 100 centimeters in a single day, bamboo has long become a multi-billion-dollar industry in China, with forests stretching across millions of hectares. Yet the greatest value of bamboo lies beneath the soil, where young bamboo shoots support an industry worth $8 billion. To preserve that value, farmers must harvest the shoots at precisely the right time, before the young sprouts have a chance to develop into mature bamboo stalks. When harvesting bamboo shoots, farmers do not wait for the shoots to fully emerge from the ground. Instead, they locate them by looking for subtle signs such as cracks in the soil, raised layers of decaying leaves, or small mounds on the forest floor. Once a shoot is identified, a narrow hoe or specialized knife is used to carefully dig around the base and expose the underground stem. The most critical step is locating the exact point where the shoot connects to the rhizome and making a clean cut in a single motion. Cutting too deep can damage the underground root system, while an inaccurate cut or bruising the shoot can significantly reduce its quality and market value. After harvest, the shoots are quickly transported to processing facilities to preserve their freshness. There, they are washed to remove soil and debris, then blanched at around 90 degrees Celsius to maintain their color and crisp texture. The outer layers and tougher fibrous portions are removed, leaving only the tender core. The shoots are then sorted and processed into a variety of products, the most popular being Chinese-style pickled bamboo shoots, known for their mild tanginess, rich aftertaste, distinctive crunch, and long shelf life. Leaving behind the vast bamboo forests, we now travel to Hubei, where lotus plants are cultivated not for their beauty, but for their crisp, white lotus roots, an essential ingredient in a multi-billion-dollar industry. Hidden beneath the mud lies the plant's enlarged rhizome, where large amounts of starch and nutrients are stored. From around September to December, as the leaves and stems above the water begin to wither, the lotus root harvest season officially begins. However, harvesting lotus roots is far from simple. Rather than growing individually, they develop as long chains of interconnected segments buried deep within soft mud, making them particularly challenging to harvest without damage. To harvest them, farmers must first determine the direction in which the rhizome has grown. High-pressure water jets are then used to wash away the surrounding mud without breaking the roots. Once the first segments become visible, workers carefully follow the entire length of the rhizome, cleaning it while gently lifting it out of the water. After being brought ashore, the lotus roots are collected and transported to processing facilities. There, they pass through multi-stage washing systems to remove all traces of mud before being sorted, trimmed, inspected for quality, and packaged. From there, these crisp and naturally sweet lotus roots are distributed across China, where they have become a staple ingredient in countless traditional dishes. Once a species known for thriving in murky, low-oxygen waters, catfish has become an important aquaculture species in China. Channel catfish alone accounts for an annual production of approximately 250,000 tons. At industrial fish farms, catfish are raised in high-density ponds and are continuously supplied with protein-rich feed to promote rapid growth. At the same time, oxygen levels and water quality are carefully monitored and controlled to maintain a stable environment for the fish. After about 5 to 6 months, when the fish reach market size, the harvest begins. The ponds are enclosed with nets to concentrate the fish in a designated area, allowing them to be collected quickly and efficiently. From there, the fish are transferred into oxygen-rich tank trucks for transport to processing facilities. In addition to traditional pond farming, China has also developed integrated poultry aquaculture systems. In this model, chicken or duck houses are built above the ponds, while poultry waste is utilized as a nutrient source for the ecosystem below, helping to reduce production costs. After harvesting, the catfish are quickly moved into processing lines, where they are cleaned, filleted, and packaged through a continuous operation to ensure maximum freshness before being distributed to the market. Once a humble food enjoyed by fishing communities along the southern coast of China, blood cockles have grown into an industry worth approximately $1 billion, thriving across the country's coastal regions. To meet growing demand, blood cockles are harvested using two main methods. In traditional tidal flats, farmers release juvenile cockles directly into coastal mudflats. When the tide recedes and the seabed is exposed, workers use hand rakes, small shovels, or simply their hands to locate and collect the cockles buried beneath the mud. Meanwhile, in large-scale farming areas of Guangdong and Guangxi, harvesting has been mechanized using specialized vessels. As these boats move through the farming grounds, dredging nets are dragged along the seabed, collecting both the cockles and the upper layer of mud onto the deck, significantly increasing harvesting efficiency. After being transported to processing facilities, the blood cockles are thoroughly washed and steamed at around 100 degrees to open their shells. The meat is then removed and cleaned further before being either flash frozen or packaged for distribution. Thanks to their rich sweetness and distinctive chewy texture, blood cockles have long been a popular delicacy in China, commonly served at family gatherings, banquets, and festive celebrations. While in the United States, black swans are often seen as symbols of luxury, gracing the private lakes of the wealthy, in China they have become part of a unique economic model that ranges from breeding and ornamental bird sales to ecotourism, with high-quality individuals valued at up to $1,000 each. Behind their elegant appearance lies a fascinating reproductive life. During the breeding season, pairs of swans swim side by side, stretching their necks and flapping their wings in elaborate courtship displays before mating on the water. After laying between 4 and 8 eggs, both the male and female take turns incubating them for more than a month. When the cygnets hatch, they do not share their parents' black plumage, but instead have light gray feathers that provide better camouflage in the wild. On modern farms, black swans are raised in environments that combine ponds with sheltered resting areas. During the day, they swim, forage, and remain active, while receiving a carefully balanced diet to maintain their health and feather quality. After about 10 to 12 months, most are retained as ornamental birds for parks and ecological attractions, while a small number are used for other commercial purposes. Hidden within the dense forests of China, black wild boars were once truly wild animals that survived purely on instinct. Today, however, they have become an important part of a livestock and culinary industry worth more than $3 billion, appearing everywhere from large-scale farms to high-end dining tables. Few people realize that most black wild boars on the market are no longer genetically pure wild animals. They are the result of generations of crossbreeding between wild boars and domestic pigs, creating a breed that combines the hardiness and adaptability of the wild with the productivity required for modern farming. This crossbreeding has given rise to a unique farming model in which agriculture and nature are closely intertwined. During their first months of life, the piglets are raised on carefully managed nutritional programs. Once they are strong enough, they are released onto hillsides and into forested areas, rather than being confined like conventional industrial pigs. Although supplemental feed is still provided to maintain growth rates, a significant portion of their diet comes from natural food sources, such as grasses, roots, fruits, and wild vegetation. After about 18 months, when they reach market size, the pigs are gathered and transported to processing facilities. Thanks to their active lifestyle throughout the growing period, black wild boar pork is typically darker in color and firmer in texture than conventionally raised pork. As a result, it is often featured in whole roasted pig dishes served at festivals, weddings, and important family gatherings across many regions of China. While China dominates the world with over 50% of global farmed crab production, operating like a massive aquaculture machine of the planet, further south in Southeast Asia, Thailand has emerged as the mud crab capital of mangrove ecosystems. In coastal regions like Chanthaburi, tens of thousands of tons of mud crabs are supplied each year, elevating a species once buried in mud onto premium dining tables in Singapore, Hong Kong, and Japan. Beyond its high economic value, the mud crab is also a living crushing machine of the mangrove forest. A single pinch from its claw can deform thin metal cans and shatter shells in an instant. Yet what truly makes mud crab valuable is not just its size. In every 100 grams of mud crab meat, there are nearly 20 grams of protein, almost double that of many common marine crab species, along with high levels of calcium and iron, making it an exceptionally dense nutritional source rarely found in the seafood world. To catch this remarkable species, people must step deep into the mangrove forest, where the hunt for mud crabs begins in a way that can make any first-time observer hold their breath. Before descending into the dense, sticky mud, crab catchers carry only a surprisingly simple toolkit: short nylon strings, about 20 to 30 centimeters long. At first glance, they seem insignificant, yet they are the most crucial tool for restraining the crab's living steel claws the moment it is captured. Veteran crab hunters rely less on equipment and more on experience. They read subtle signs around burrow entrances, freshly pushed up mud, faint scratch marks near mangrove roots, or even delicate footprints left on the surface. Sometimes a small stick is used to probe the hole, determining its depth and direction. Once certain a crab is hiding below, the most intense moment begins. The hunter slowly inserts a bare hand into the mud, feeling along the dark tunnel until fingertips touch the cold, hard shell. In a split second, they grip precisely behind the carapace, the one position the powerful claws cannot reach. In that instant, the crab is pulled straight out of its mud fortress, swift and precise, almost like a sleight of hand beneath the swampy surface. Immediately afterward, the legs are tightly bound with nylon strings to immobilize the claws. However, there is a lesser-known reality. Some dishonest sellers attach extra weights to increase the crab's selling weight. For that reason, informed buyers always inspect the bindings carefully and reweigh the crab, because sometimes a few grams of mud and string can make you pay for something that isn't actually crab. However, not all mud crabs begin their journey in mangrove hunts. In many places, their life cycle starts inside small hatchery tanks, initiated through artificial fertilization. Mud crabs can produce up to 8 million eggs in a single season, nearly equivalent to the population of a large city. Yet in the wild, more than 99% fail to survive. For this reason, hatcheries rely on IVF techniques to secure a stable seed supply. Eggs collected from female crabs are combined with sperm from males in controlled tanks, then transferred into specialized incubation systems. Here, the embryos gradually develop and hatch into microscopic larvae, which are carefully reared in nursery tanks. They continue growing until reaching the free-swimming larval stage, before progressing through subsequent developmental phases into juvenile crabs. After about 30 to 45 days in nursery tanks, when juvenile crabs reach a size of 1 to 2 centimeters, they are transferred to outdoor ponds equipped with aerators and recirculating filtration systems. But the true breakthrough in mud crab farming does not lie in massive farms or complex technologies. It begins with something incredibly small: the crab box. Measuring only around 30 times 20 centimeters, this simple plastic box is perforated with dozens of small holes to allow continuous seawater flow. Yet its most important feature is that each box holds only a single crab. The reason is straightforward. Mud crabs are among the most aggressive crustaceans. When confined together, they can attack each other violently, breaking claws and losing limbs within minutes. For that reason, each crab is placed in its own private room. Inside, they are fed fresh fish, low-value fish, and high-protein formulated feed to accelerate weight gain. These boxes are tied into long rows across ponds or coastal mangrove waters, rising and falling with the tides while remaining submerged in oxygen-rich natural currents. Thanks to the constant water exchange through the perforations, the environment inside each box is continuously refreshed, helping stabilize temperature and reduce disease risks. At the same time, the enclosed design protects the crabs from harsh sunlight, heavy rain, and dangerous collisions with others. In many modern farms, ultra-small waterproof cameras are even installed to monitor each cluster of crab boxes, allowing farmers to detect molting or stress at an early stage. Every 3 days, the boxes are lifted and cleaned to remove algae and mud, ensuring optimal conditions for healthy growth. But outdoor floating boxes are not the limit of modern mud crab farming. In some advanced farms, crabs are even raised in underwater apartment buildings, multi-tier vertical tank systems that resemble giant stacked drawers. Each rack stands about 1.5 to 2 meters tall and consists of dozens of plastic trays that slide out like drawers. Within each tray, every crab has its own individual space to grow. On a single rack, farmers can manage hundreds of crabs at once, turning a small area into an ET-efficient crab farm, saving many times more space compared to traditional pond farming. However, what truly makes this system work is not the trays themselves, but the constantly moving water behind them. The water in the tanks never stands still. It is continuously circulated through mechanical and biological filtration systems, where waste, leftover feed, and harmful bacteria are removed. Each day, the crabs are fed once or twice with small fish, snails, low-value fish, or high-protein formulated feed. The greatest advantage of the drawer system lies in its ability to control each individual crab. Farmers can easily monitor which ones are about to molt, which are weak, or which need to be separated. However, this technology also comes with risks. The entire system depends on pumps, electricity, and filtration units. If water circulation stops or the system malfunctions, water quality can deteriorate very quickly. And in such high-density conditions, hundreds of crabs can be affected within just a few hours. With outdoor box systems, after about 2 to 4 weeks of rearing, once the crabs have passed the molting stage and begin reaching market size, the harvesting process truly begins. The rearing trays are attached to sliding frames that run along the pond edges, then slowly pulled across the water surface using a rope system. As each row of boxes is brought up, the lids are opened one by one, allowing farmers to inspect and select the healthiest individuals. Crabs that meet the required standards are separated for harvest, while smaller ones are returned to continue their growth cycle. In closed-system farms, harvesting takes place directly on the multi-tier tray racks. Farmers simply pull out each tray, open the compartments, and check each individual crab, removing those ready for market. Regardless of the harvesting method, the post-harvest handling process remains largely the same. The crabs are thoroughly washed to remove mud and debris, then neatly arranged and covered with cold cloths to maintain freshness and reduce activity. Larger crabs have their legs and claws tightly bound to prevent damage during transport before being carefully placed into temperature-controlled containers. From mangrove forests and coastal farms, they begin their next journey, heading straight to seafood markets and processing facilities, where the story of the mud crab enters an entirely new chapter. In the canned mud crab processing workflow, as soon as the crabs arrive at the factory, they are placed into industrial steel cages and quickly transferred into high-temperature steaming tanks. Within just 10 to 15 minutes, the heat is sufficient to firm up the meat, locking in its natural sweetness without causing shrinkage. After leaving the cooking stage, the crabs are immediately cooled with cold water to stop the cooking process and wash away any remaining residue. From here begins the most critical stage of the entire production line: meat extraction. Skilled workers carefully remove the shells and pick out each piece of white meat with speed and precision, preserving its natural tender texture. The crab meat is then sorted, carefully selected, and placed directly into cans using specialized tools. Each can must meet strict standards, not only clean and free of shell fragments, but also neatly arranged with precise portioning down to the gram. This level of meticulousness ultimately determines the quality of the canned product before it moves on to the next stages. Once filled, the cans are sealed and transferred into high-pressure retort systems. In just a few minutes, the heat eliminates bacteria and locks in the ocean-fresh flavor, transforming each can into a shelf-ready product for the market. From muddy mangrove forests, mud crab is not just seafood, it's the foundation of intensely flavorful dishes. In the kitchen, it transforms effortlessly. Deep-fried for a crispy golden shell with sweet, tender meat inside, or tossed into pad thai, absorbing tangy tamarind sauce, garlic aroma, and soft noodles. In modern cuisine, it even becomes crab burgers, paired with toasted buns, fresh vegetables, and rich sauces for a familiar yet surprising experience. From crab soup to tamarind crab, garlic butter crab, or crab noodles, each dish unlocks a different layer of flavor. Perhaps that's what makes mud crab truly special. From silent mangrove mud, it rises to become the star of unforgettable dishes from the very first bite. The modern sheep industry no longer operates through small scattered flocks. In Australia, a country often described as the nation riding on the sheep's back, the total sheep population has reached 74.2 million, nearly 3 times the country's human population. Did you know that Anna Creek Station in South Australia is currently the largest livestock ranch in the world, covering more than 24,000 square kilometers, larger than the entire territory of Israel? Even more astonishing, many medium-sized family ranches in the Australian outback range from 20,000 to 100,000 hectares, where tens of thousands of sheep move daily across vast, arid grasslands, adapting to harsh environments and developing remarkable resilience. Thanks to a diet of protein-rich native grasses and mineral-dense drought-resistant shrubs, a lamb weighing about 4 kilograms at birth can grow rapidly to around 40 kilograms in just 6 months, ensuring a fast capital turnover cycle for farmers. But freedom does not mean a lack of control. From the moment they are born, every sheep is fitted with an RFID electronic ear tag, functioning as an identity card within the National Livestock Identification System, NLIS. This technology digitizes the animal's entire life cycle, allowing managers to trace its origin precisely, from farm to supermarket shelf, and even identify which pasture it grazed on at a specific time. However, all digital data would become meaningless without the ability to physically coordinate thousands of animals in the field. Despite the rise of monitoring technology, the most critical operational link on the ground remains specialized herding dogs such as border collies and kelpies. Trained rigorously from a young age, these dogs can sprint at nearly 50 kilometers per hour, allowing them to cover more than 80 kilometers a day across harsh terrain. Rather than relying on barking or aggression, they employ a technique known as the eye. Locking their gaze while lowering their center of gravity to create psychological pressure, prompting the sheep to move faster as they sense the perceived threat. On the other hand, sheep do not always comply perfectly. Dominant rams or protective ewes sometimes stop and challenge the dog while guarding their lambs. In such cases, herding dogs do not attack or cause injury. Instead, they use rapid zigzag movements to disorient the animal, forcing stubborn individuals back into the flock. A properly trained herding dog can control a flock of up to 2,000 sheep across hundreds of hectares, performing work equivalent to at least 5 full-time workers. With maintenance costs only about 1/3 of an industrial drone system, these four-legged partners remain the most practical solution to Australia's agricultural labor shortage. A country where only about 2% of the population works in farming, yet manages some of the largest farms on Earth. In reality, vast land is only half of the success. On large-scale ranches, disease, deadly threats such as roundworms, pulpy kidney bacteria, and tetanus can wipe out an entire flock, with mortality rates reaching 100% if left uncontrolled. These pathogens often strike at the most vulnerable moments, when lambs are just beginning to graze, or when pregnant ewes have exhausted their energy carrying offspring, leaving their natural immune defenses dangerously weakened. For this reason, a rapid vaccination program begins as early as 4 weeks of age. Young lambs are placed into V-shaped cradles that gently tilt them onto their backs, a device designed to secure the body in a relaxed position, allowing handlers to perform injections with millimeter-level precision while minimizing stress. For adult sheep, the process shifts to narrow squeezed chutes that firmly secure the body. The primary tool at this stage is an automatic vaccination gun, capable of delivering continuous 2 milliliter doses without interruption. To withstand the scorching heat of the Australian outback, vaccines are carefully stored in insulated cooler bags, a crucial measure to prevent antigens from degrading before they can enter the animal's body. Every injection is aimed at strategic golden zones, the skin at the neck just behind the ear. This location is deliberately chosen because it is far from the most valuable meat cuts in the hindquarters and thighs. As a result, even if swelling occurs, the commercial value of the meat remains fully preserved when it eventually reaches supermarket shelves. In just 3 seconds, each sheep receives a biological insurance policy, ready to roam confidently across some of Australia's harshest pastures, transforming biological risk into a highly controlled, professional disease management system. When sheep reach 6 to 8 months of age, they undergo their first shearing, a milestone that marks maturity and the moment they shed their layer of white gold to begin a new economic cycle. From then on, this thick fleece is harvested once a year using specialized electric shearing clippers. The golden standard in this process is continuity. Shearers must guide the clipper blades close to the surface of the skin without ever passing over the same spot twice. This technique eliminates second cuts, tiny fragments of wool produced when the blade crosses an already shorn area. Even a small amount of these fibers can immediately downgrade an entire bale of wool, as they cannot be processed in the high-speed textile machines used in Italy or Japan. With exceptional skill, a professional shearer can process more than 200 sheep per day, meaning that roughly every 90 seconds, a 5-kilogram fleece is removed without injuring the animal's skin. If a minor scratch does occur, the shearer immediately applies a special antiseptic powder to stop bleeding and protect the sheep on the spot, ensuring the process remains both humane and safe. The premium fleece is then graded according to its micron measurement. With fiber diameters of only 13 to 18 micrometers, many times thinner than the outer layer of human skin, the wool is sorted, compressed into bales, and shipped to wool textile centers around the world. However, not every part of the fleece meets the standards required for high-end textile production. Instead of becoming waste, wool fibers that are too short, too dirty, or taken from the sheep's legs and belly are being transformed into an unexpected solution: wool compost, a natural fertilizer made from wool byproducts. At first glance, turning sheep wool into fertilizer may seem unusual, but biologically, it is actually a massive reservoir of nutrients. The key component is keratin, a highly durable protein containing 12 to 15% pure nitrogen, a concentration comparable to or even higher than many premium organic fertilizers on the market. This process of revival begins with piles of raw fleece freshly shorn from the sheep, still mixed with dust, dirt, and especially natural lanolin oil. First, workers loosen and separate the clumps of wool to ensure the material becomes as uniform as possible before entering the processing line. Next, the wool is fed into a specialized pelletizing machine. Inside the device, steel rollers compress the keratin fibers and push the material through small die holes, transforming the soft mass of wool into hard, uniform pellets within seconds. As the pellets exit the press, they drop into a metal tray below, where they are cooled and collected. In just about 1 minute, fibers that once seemed worthless are turned into thousands of compact organic fertilizer pellets, easy to transport and apply. The finished product is then packaged and distributed as a comprehensive soil improvement solution, thanks to its remarkable ability to absorb up to 20 times its own weight in water. Once buried in the soil, the pellets function as a slow-release nutrient source, gradually supplying nitrogen to crops while also retaining moisture in the soil through the natural fibrous structure of keratin. But the journey of sheep wool does not end in the compost pit. In many gardens, it is used in an even simpler and more direct way. Raw wool is spread across the soil surface as a natural biological mulch. This method requires almost no processing at all. After shearing, the wool is kept in large, intact patches and laid directly around the base of plants or across garden beds, typically at a thickness of about 3 to 5 centimeters. Unlike compressing wool into fertilizer pellets, this approach serves a different purpose: protecting the soil surface and stabilizing the environment around plant roots. Thanks to its hollow fiber structure, the wool layer acts as a natural insulator, helping keep root zones cooler in summer while reducing temperature shocks during cold nights. At the same time, the mulch blocks sunlight from reaching the soil surface, making it difficult for weed seeds to germinate in the first place. After 8 to 12 months, the wool fibers gradually break down and blend into the soil, transforming what was once a byproduct of the wool industry into organic matter that improves soil structure, aeration, and fertility. Meanwhile, the fleeces that meet quality standards move into a strict industrial processing chain to produce the renowned merino fiber, a premium material that accounts for up to 80% of Australia's total wool export value on the global market. At the factory, the process begins with wool grading and sorting. Freshly shorn fleeces are spread across long mesh sorting tables, where workers carefully inspect them and immediately remove coarser fibers from the belly, legs, or areas contaminated with straw and dirt. Once selected, the wool enters the scouring stage, an industrial washing system designed to thoroughly clean the fibers. Passing through a series of hot water baths, the wool masses are continuously agitated and transported by roller mechanisms, which remove soil, organic debris, and the natural lanolin oil that coats the surface of the fibers. After the fibers become clean and loosened, they move into the carding system. Here, enormous metal cylinders covered with millions of microscopic steel teeth rotate at high speed. Working simultaneously, these teeth separate, detangle, and align the fibers, transforming them into a thin, continuous sheet known as a wool web. Today, a modern carding machine can process 150 to 300 kilograms of wool per hour, hundreds of times faster than traditional hand-combing methods. From this separated fiber layer, the process moves on to the combing stage. Rows of ultrafine metal combs continue to straighten the fibers and remove any remaining short strands. The result is long, uniform fiber bundles known as sliver, in which the wool fibers lie almost perfectly parallel, an essential factor that gives merino wool its exceptional softness and strength. From these even slivers, the production line moves into the spinning stage. The fiber bundles are stretched and twisted simultaneously by industrial spinning machines. Thousands of individual wool fibers are twisted together to form a complete yarn, with the level of twist precisely controlled to ensure the strength, elasticity, and thermal insulation that characterize merino fiber. Rats are among the fastest reproducing mammals in the animal kingdom. A female rat can become pregnant after only about 21 days, giving birth to 6 to 12 pups per litter, and just a few months later, the new generation begins reproducing as well. Under favorable conditions, a single pair of rats can multiply into hundreds or even thousands within a year. Beyond their explosive population growth, rats have also been linked to some of the most devastating diseases in history. The most infamous example is the Black Death of the 14th century, when plague bacteria spread by fleas living on rats killed up to 200 million people. But rats are not only pests, they have also amazed scientists with their intelligence. In experiments, rats can quickly find their way out of complex mazes, remember routes, and learn from their mistakes. This cleverness has led humans to use them for unusual tasks. In Africa, giant rats have been trained to detect landmines, thanks to their extremely sensitive sense of smell and bodies light enough that they do not trigger the explosives. As a result, they have helped locate thousands of landmines left behind after wars. In many cultures, rats carry very different meanings. In China, the rat is the first animal of the 12 zodiac signs, symbolizing intelligence and quick thinking. Meanwhile, in India, at the famous Karni Mata temple, tens of thousands of rats are revered as sacred creatures, and spotting a white rat is believed to be a sign of good luck. And without making you wait any longer, let's step right into a tense battle of wits between humans and this cunning animal, to see how people hunt them, and how they eventually end up on the dinner table. In New South Wales, Australia, when night falls over the wheat fields, a rather unusual job begins. Each night, farmers and local hunters head out with air rifles and spotlights to track the rats emerging from burrows beneath the fields. During a major outbreak in 2021, the rat population in the region was estimated to reach tens of millions, and an experienced hunter could shoot 100 to 300 rats in a single night when the swarms appeared in large numbers. The weapon of choice is not a large hunting rifle, but usually a small caliber air rifle firing lead pellets, accurate enough to take down a target at close range without making loud noises that would scare the entire swarm away. The reason is simple. Rats may be only slightly larger than a human hand, but they are fast, incredibly agile, and often appear for only a few seconds. With traps or chasing, they usually disappear before anyone can react. That's why in these night hunts, the most important tools are not just the rifle, but patience and a shot that is almost perfectly precise. On the agricultural front lines of many Asian countries, this hunt takes on a very different character. For farmers here, the harvest season is not only about collecting rice, it is also the season for hunting rats. Crop losses caused by rat infestations in some regions average around 15%. That number reflects months of silent feasting beforehand, as field rats gorge themselves on ripening rice grains, growing fat while hiding in the edges of fields, piles of straw, and networks of underground burrows. Once the harvesting machines begin moving across the fields, the second phase immediately begins, setting up the net traps. Long nets are stretched along the edges of the fields or arranged into narrow corridors, forcing the rats to run in a single direction. These nets are typically made from durable nylon or fishing line, with tight mesh strong enough to hold them. Standing about 60 centimeters high, tall enough to prevent rats from climbing over. Each net can extend dozens of meters, and at the end of the line sit funnel-shaped cage traps where rats can enter easily but struggle to find their way back out. It is a simple, inexpensive design, yet remarkably effective. No toxic chemicals, no complicated machinery, just a deep understanding of how rats move. In the end, farmers effectively turn the entire field into a giant rat-catching system. In many rural areas, when traps no longer work against particularly cunning rats, farmers often turn to an older method, releasing dogs and ferrets to hunt rats directly in the fields. This usually takes place in the early morning or late afternoon when rats are still hiding in burrows along the edges of rice fields. A small group of farmers walks along the field, using hose or sticks to open burrow entrances, while the dogs continuously sniff around the embankments to locate exactly where the rats are hiding. As soon as a burrow is disturbed, the rats usually panic and dash out into the open. Small rat hunting dogs immediately give chase, reaching speeds of 30 to 40 kilometers per hour, fast enough to intercept the prey before it can find another escape route. But if the rat manages to dive deeper into its complex tunnel system, that's when the ferret is released. With a body length of about 25 centimeters and an extremely flexible build, the ferret can slip through tunnels only a few centimeters wide, places where almost no other predator can follow. During a hunt like this, farmers can often open and check dozens of rat burrows in a single morning, leaving the entire field noticeably quieter afterward. The method may seem simple, but is actually a clever combination of a dog's sense of smell, a ferret's agility, and the farmer's experience. A traditional strategy that has endured because it makes perfect use of what nature already provides. In many rice-growing rural areas, rats are not only crop destroyers but also have a rather unexpected fate on the dining table. However, people only use field rats, the kind that live in rice fields and feed mainly on grains, wild seeds, and insects. Because of this natural diet, field rat meat is firm, lean, and almost free of the unpleasant odor often associated with rats living in sewers or urban environments. An adult field rat typically weighs around 200 grams, and during major outbreaks, farmers can catch dozens in a single hunt. After being caught, the rats are carefully cleaned. The skin is removed, the organs discarded, and the meat washed several times in salted water before being drained. It is then marinated with familiar ingredients such as lemongrass, chili, garlic, shallots, and fish sauce. When skewered and grilled over glowing charcoal at around 200 degrees Celsius, the skin slowly turns golden brown and slightly crisp, while the meat inside remains tender and naturally sweet. The aroma of grilled meat mixed with lemongrass and charcoal smoke often spreads across the yard, becoming a familiar scene during gatherings after the harvest. Besides grilling, stir-fried rat with lemongrass and chili is another popular preparation. The meat is chopped into small pieces and quickly stir-fried in a hot pan with minced lemongrass, red chili, and shallots. After just 5 to 7 minutes over high heat, the dish develops a golden color with bright red accents and a rich, spicy fragrance. The meat is tender with a slight chew and a naturally sweet flavor, often served with hot rice or enjoyed as a rustic drinking dish. In many places, field rat dishes are seen as a two-in-one solution. Hunting them not only helps reduce crop damage, but also provides an additional source of food for local communities. From a pest hunted in the rice fields, the field rat is transformed into a rustic countryside delicacy, with a flavor closely tied to the land. It reflects a curious cycle between humans and nature, where a creature once known for destroying harvests becomes a dish remembered by generations of farmers. But the situation becomes far more complicated when the opponent is no longer out in the fields, but inside the human home, under cabinets, behind refrigerators, or in kitchen corners. Rats that live close to human environments are often more cautious, adaptable, and much harder to control. They quickly learn to avoid light, sudden noises, and sometimes even remember places where traps were once set. That is why people don't simply place traps, they design strategies. Modern rat traps take advantage of one of the rodent's biggest weaknesses, an extremely sensitive sense of smell, and a constant search for food. A small scent, such as peanut butter, grains, or leftover rice, can attract a rat from more than 10 meters away. And that scent becomes the quiet invitation that draws them closer. These traps are carefully designed. The bait is usually placed deep inside the device, forcing the rat to step directly onto the trigger mechanism. Once the rat touches that sensitive point, even with very little pressure, the mechanism activates instantly. Everything happens in a split second. Fast, precise, and often with very little noise. What makes these traps effective is not brute force, but an understanding of rat behavior. Rats constantly investigate new smells and search for food within their territory. Ironically, that very instinct often leads them straight into the trap. In that sense, a well-designed rat trap is not just a tool, it is a small exercise in psychology, where human observation and ingenuity stay one step ahead of a remarkably clever animal. Sometimes, dealing with rats doesn't require complicated devices. In fact, one of the most surprisingly effective traps can be made with just a bucket, a little water, and a small piece of bait. The idea relies on two well-known traits of rats: their extremely sensitive sense of smell and their constant search for food during the night. The trap itself is very simple. A bucket about 25 to 30 centimeters deep is placed on the floor or along a wall, areas where rats usually travel. A small plank or wooden stick is set up like a ramp, guiding the rat toward the bait placed above the bucket. Drawn by the smell, the rat walks along the ramp, but the surface near the bait is often unstable or slippery. With one wrong step, it loses balance and falls straight into the water below. What makes this trap interesting is its quiet persistence. A rat can swim for several minutes, but the smooth sides of the bucket make it extremely difficult to climb back out. In places where rats follow the same paths each night, a single bucket trap can sometimes catch multiple rats overnight. At first glance, rats may seem like nothing more than agricultural pests. Yet behind the scenes, they have quietly played a crucial role in some of the greatest breakthroughs of modern science. From these small bodies, researchers have developed vaccines, tested treatments for cancer and diabetes, and even explored the possibilities of gene therapy. With a genetic makeup that is over 90% similar to that of humans, rats have become an ideal living biological model, a place where scientific theories can be tested, where cells react, adapt, and reveal the pathways behind medical discoveries that have shaped modern medicine. Rats are not just present in laboratories, they are often at the center of experiments that have helped save millions of lives. A creature that may seem insignificant at first glance has become an essential bridge between human intelligence and the progress of humanity. Nearly 500,000 American bison are now concentrated in North America. Yet up to 90% of them belong to commercial ranches, rather than living fully in the wild. In large conservation areas, they frequently wander onto paved roads because the flat surface requires less energy to cross and keeps their hooves warmer than trudging through snow, creating the iconic traffic phenomenon known as a bison jam. With a lifespan of up to 25 years, bison have endured decades of brutal winters to retain their title as the largest land mammals in North America. Though often mistaken for buffalo, they are in fact a uniquely adapted survival powerhouse, standing about 1.8 meters tall and weighing over a ton with muscular strength capable of tossing predators aside. Armed with 60-centimeter horns and exceptionally thick hides, an adult bison has virtually no natural enemies. Even grizzly bears and wolves rarely risk a direct attack. But don't let their calm appearance fool you. Behind that massive frame lies the ability to burst to speeds of up to 60 kilometers per hour, 3 times faster than a human. Their seemingly placid demeanor masks an unpredictable temperament. In national parks, it is bison, not bears, that are responsible for the highest number of visitor injuries. To understand the power of the American bison, everything begins with their most critical biological cycle, the rutting season, which takes place from July to September each year. During this period, males compete fiercely for breeding rights, creating an exceptionally strict natural selection process. Bison follow a polygynous system. To assert dominance, males paw the ground and roll in dust mixed with urine, a method of dispersing pheromones to display strength and attract females. When direct confrontations erupt, they clash using their horns and thick frontal skull structure, absorbing and delivering tremendous force. This process ensures that only the strongest genetics are passed on, allowing bison herds to maintain endurance and survival instincts refined over thousands of years. After the rut ends, females enter a 9-month gestation period, similar to humans. Calving typically occurs in April and May of the following year, when fresh grass is most abundant to help mothers recover. Remarkably, the entire reproductive process unfolds naturally without the need for medical intervention. Before reaching 150 kilograms in just about 6 months, a newborn American bison calf weighs only around 25 to 30 kilograms. Born in spring with a distinctive reddish-orange coat, it blends almost perfectly into the dry prairie grass, a crucial survival advantage against predators. Unlike domestic cattle calves, bison calves enter the wild almost immediately. Within 10 to 20 minutes of birth, they can stand. Within hours, they move with the herd. In the first weeks of life, keeping pace over several kilometers a day, even crossing rivers or rough terrain, is essential to avoid becoming prey to the gray wolf or the grizzly bear. The first 6 months are critical for immune development and skeletal growth. Rather than relying on growth-promoting antibiotics, commercial bison systems follow a minimal intervention model. Calves depend entirely on their mother's milk, which can contain up to 12% fat, significantly higher than conventional cow's milk. This dense energy source supports rapid bone expansion, thick muscle formation, and the growth of a dense winter coat capable of withstanding temperatures as low as 40 degrees Celsius. By around the 7th month, the reddish coat gradually sheds and turns dark brown, and natural weaning begins, marking the transition to a fully grass-based diet. On modern ranches, rotational grazing across vast pastures is widely applied. Constant movement in search of natural forage forces sustained muscular activity, contributing to lean muscle structure, low fat content, and the deep red color that defines bison meat's premium value in the market. However, productivity is not driven by nutrition alone. Bison possess a tightly structured social system and are physiologically highly sensitive to stress. Even a single intense disturbance can elevate cortisol levels and heart rate for extended periods, directly affecting post-slaughter meat quality, particularly tenderness and water-holding capacity. For this reason, modern ranchers act as quiet stewards. They rely on remote monitoring systems, including drones and environmental sensors, to check herds and water sources while minimizing direct contact. The goal is not to tame the wildness, but to manage it with minimal interference, preserving the herd's most natural state until the moment of processing. Although they roam freely outdoors, operating a billion-dollar supply chain requires precision. Every American bison is fitted with an electronic ID tag to track its individual health records and growth schedule. Managing animals that weigh up to a ton cannot rely on brute strength. Instead, ranchers use a squeezed chute, a specialized steel restraint system that gently presses against the animal's sides, holding it still for a few seconds during medical checks without causing stress or injury. This is a critical control point that upholds premium standards. No antibiotics, no hormones, the core values of high-end bison meat. From here, the bison's journey splits into 2 strategic paths. Individuals with superior genetics, typically large-framed bulls with documented bloodlines, move on to specialized breeding auctions. While average prices are often below $10,000, elite specimens can reach $25,000, positioning them as long-term reproductive assets rather than commercial livestock. The rest enter the commercial segment, where they complete their final feeding phase before moving into the red meat market, a luxury niche rapidly expanding amid growing demand for ultra-lean, all-natural protein. In North America, only about 400 to 600 American bison enter processing each day. A very small number compared to the more than 30 million beef cattle handled annually in the United States. This contrast defines the unique nature of the bison meat industry. Not mass production, not massive assembly lines, but a limited value chain focused on quality rather than volume. After being rendered unconscious in accordance with animal welfare standards and completing the initial preparation stage, the carcass is rapidly chilled to below 4 degrees Celsius within the first 24 hours to control microbial activity and stabilize muscle pH. A particularly critical step for bison due to their low fat content, which makes the meat prone to cold shortening if cooling is not precisely managed. Skin removal requires considerable skill as bison hides are much thicker and more tightly attached. Even a minor error can affect the deep, red muscle structure beneath. Unlike the industrial beef sector that relies on high-speed conveyor systems, bison fabrication is carried out more slowly by highly trained butchers. The firm muscle structure and minimal marbling demand precise cuts along the natural seams of each muscle group, maximizing lean yield while preserving the value of premium cuts such as tenderloin, short ribs, and round. With 25 to 40% less fat than conventional beef and higher iron content, bison meat is distinguished by its deep red color and rich yet clean flavor. Many premium cuts are aged for 7 to 14 days for vacuum packaging and distribution to upscale restaurants and specialty retail markets. Notably, commercial demand has not driven the species toward decline again. Instead, it has created an incentive for conservation. Specialized private ranches invest in land and herd expansion, helping the North American bison population recover to approximately 500,000. A powerful example of conservation aligned with economic value. And you may not know this, the very existence of the American bison is a critical factor in maintaining prairie ecosystems. They are not only the foundation of a billion-dollar food industry, but are also classified by ecologists as a keystone species, one capable of reshaping the biological structure of entire regions across North America. Through their constant movement and selective grazing on the tops of tall grasses, bison function as a natural biological trimming system. This allows sunlight to penetrate lower layers of vegetation, directly stimulating native seeds to germinate. The result is a more diverse, multi-layered, and stable plant community compared to grasslands subjected to static grazing. Even more fascinating are the shallow depressions they create by rolling on the ground, known as bison wallows. These formations can persist for 20 to 30 years. During the rainy season, they transform into micropond ecosystems, providing essential water sources for insects, amphibians, and migratory birds across otherwise dry prairies. Even their shed winter fur serves as valuable nesting material, increasing survival rates for native bird species. At a time when more than 70% of North America's native grasslands have been converted for other land uses, the return of the bison represents more than economic value. It stands as a model in which commercial activity and ecosystem restoration can coexist, a complete symbiosis between utilization and conservation. Keeping mandarins fresh for 8 full months is no simple task, because even the smallest scratch can cause the fruit to spoil completely. Yet it was precisely this challenge that pushed Spain to transform its Mediterranean valleys into the largest fresh mandarin export hub in Europe. Spain built this entire system around a principle that seems simple but cannot be mechanized. High-quality mandarins must be harvested by hand. Workers use specialized clippers to cut the stem clean and flush with the fruit, removing any sharp edges that could damage the delicate peel, where highly sensitive oil glands are concentrated. Just one tiny scratch, oil leakage can occur, mold can spread, and an entire shipment can be ruined during weeks-long transport. For the most common variety, clementine, harvest timing is not determined by color, but by the MI index, a measure of the balance between sugar and acidity. As a result, many batches may still appear slightly green, yet arrive at consumers perfectly juicy and flavorful, rather than simply looking ripe. Within 24 hours of harvest, the mandarins must be transported directly to processing facilities for rapid cooling, slowing the fruit's natural respiration before sorting begins. Optical scanning systems inspect each fruit individually, while those that fail to meet cosmetic standards are redirected into essential oil extraction or juice production, ensuring that no part of the harvest goes to waste. This disciplined and tightly controlled operation generates more than $4 billion annually for Spain's mandarin industry and sustains a steady flow of exports across intercontinental shipping routes. And as soon as the harvest ends, farms immediately begin the next cycle, pruning trees, restoring soil health, and applying organic fertilizers, preparing for another season where pressure, standards, and expectations never ease. Also in Spain, in the Murcia region, peach orchards enter harvest season as early as May, with shades of red spreading across the trees, a sign that anthocyanins, natural antioxidant pigments, have reacted perfectly with the Mediterranean sun. But color alone doesn't always indicate ripeness. Sometimes that red hue is simply the fruit's natural shield against UV rays, which is why harvesters still rely on touch, gently feeling the firmness of the flesh to determine the precise moment when sugar levels peak. Today, more than 90% of premium fresh market peaches must still be harvested entirely by hand. The fruit is simply too soft and too delicate. Even light pressure from a fingertip can damage its internal structure, triggering oxidation that causes the flesh to brown almost instantly. As a result, a skilled worker harvests only about 300 peaches per hour, following strict technique, cradling the fruit in the palm and gently twisting it free, rather than pulling or snapping, which could tear the fragile skin. Immediately after leaving the tree, peaches are rushed to processing facilities for rapid heat removal. Residual field heat accelerates respiration, causing the fruit to soften and lose its natural aroma in a very short time. At the plant, peaches are washed and their core temperature is lowered to 0.2 degrees Celsius within less than 2 hours, effectively locking in freshness before they enter the cold supply chain. Soft and fragile as they appear, peaches that meet premium standards can sell for up to $15 per kilogram, rivaling high-end grapes or rare mango varieties. And to ensure that no part of the harvest is wasted, fruit that fails to meet cosmetic standards is redirected into jams, canned products, or seed oil extraction for high-end cosmetics, allowing the value of each peach to be fully realized in different forms. Many people associate mangoes with Southeast Asia, but the country that truly dominates this market is India, home to the legendary Alfonso mango, one of the most expensive varieties in the world, selling for $15 per fruit. Harvesting begins early in the morning when the fruit's core temperature is still low and sap pressure has not yet built up. This timing is critical for controlling urushiol, a naturally occurring acidic compound that can shoot out from the stem over distances of several dozen centimeters, and within hours of contact is capable of burning and blackening the mango's skin. As the sun rises, sap pressure increases sharply, and even minor handling errors can significantly reduce the fruit's commercial value. To avoid this, farmers do not cut the stem flush with the fruit, which would release sap pressure abruptly. Instead, they use long harvesting poles and deliberately leave a stem segment about 5 centimeters long. This remaining stem helps isolate the acidic sap, minimizing direct contact with the mango's sensitive skin. Positioned beneath the cutting blade is a fabric-lined catching net, ensuring the fruit lands gently and eliminating impact damage that could compromise the internal flesh. Few people realize that much of the mango used in ice cream, yogurt, smoothies, and beverages sold by global brands such as Starbucks and Haagen-Dazs relies on Alfonso or Kesar mango puree from India as a quality benchmark. This preference stems from the fruit's exceptionally smooth, almost fiberless flesh and its intense aromatic profile, characteristics shaped by the iron-rich laterite soils and the coastal climate of the Konkan region. Among the many tropical fruits consumed worldwide, pineapple stands out for having one of the longest growing cycles. Each plant requires nearly 2 full years to produce a single fruit that meets commercial standards. Typically from March to July, harvesting in steep terrain must be done entirely by hand. Farmers use a firm, backward wrist motion to snap the fruit free, then pass it from hand to hand before loading it onto transport vehicles. While the process appears simple, it demands extreme endurance. Workers must wear full protective gear to guard against razor-sharp pineapple leaves and bromelain, a powerful enzyme capable of eroding skin and even removing fingerprints after prolonged exposure. Today, productivity has been pushed to new limits through semi-mechanized harvesting systems. A single tractor equipped with a conveyor arm extending up to 50 meters can span dozens of pineapple rows, forming a continuous collection line. Instead of carrying heavy loads, workers simply place the fruit onto the belt, where it moves automatically to collection bins. This method cuts transport time by up to 80% and, more importantly, minimizes impact, preserving the fruit's juiciness by preventing bruising and internal damage. Once cut from the plant, pineapples must reach the processing facility within 4 hours, where they are cleaned in high-pressure bubbling tanks to remove dirt and insects embedded deep within the rough skin. Fruits that pass inspection are then coated with a protective wax and packed for shipment to the United States and Europe, the two largest pineapple-consuming markets in the world. In California, where a Mediterranean climate allows harvests to rotate almost year-round, the state is known not only for almonds and pistachios, but also for producing more than 6 million tons of grapes per season, placing American agriculture in direct competition with the long-established wine empires of France. In premium table grape vineyards, the top priority is flawless appearance and maximum shelf life. Because grape skins are extremely thin, the critical factor is preserving the fruit's natural waxy bloom, a biological coating that reduces moisture loss and protects against mold. Here, machines are strictly prohibited. Workers use pruning shears to cut the main stem, while gently supporting each bunch with their other hand, applying absolutely no pressure to the grapes themselves. A skilled harvester may collect only 50 to 70 kilograms per hour, but in return, these grapes can remain fresh for nearly twice as long as standard table grapes. By contrast, in wine grape and raisin fields, speed becomes a matter of survival in the race against desert heat. Massive harvesting machines, as tall as 2-story buildings, move continuously along the rows. High-frequency shaking arms dislodge the grapes onto conveyor belts without crushing the flesh. A single machine can process up to 20 tons per hour, equivalent to the labor of around 100 workers. The harvested grapes are transferred directly into bins and quickly transported to processing facilities to prevent fermentation under the intense daytime heat. From this point, the U.S. grape value chain clearly diverges. Hand-harvested grapes undergo rapid cooling to preserve crispness before reaching supermarket shelves worldwide. Machine-harvested grapes move straight into sealed fermentation tanks for winemaking. Thanks to strict operational control, every output, from fresh grapes and raisins to wine, meets precise standards for sugar content and quality, turning grapes into an industry worth over $5 billion USD annually. A nightmare for those who suffer from banana phobia, the fear of mushy fruit flesh. Bananas nonetheless remain the most consumed agricultural product on the planet, with global production exceeding 100 million tons per year. In countries like Ecuador and the Philippines, the world's largest banana exporters, the sight of workers carrying massive banana bunches on their shoulders is now a thing of the past. Instead, vast overhead cable systems stretching for dozens of kilometers dominate the plantations. When a banana plant reaches maturity after roughly 9 to 12 months, harvesting begins with precise coordination between two workers. One cuts, the other supports. The cutter uses a long pole to slice a V-shaped notch into the pseudostem, allowing the plant to bend slowly rather than collapse, a critical step to prevent the heavy bunch from being crushed. The moment the bunch lowers, the supporting worker absorbs its full 50-kilogram weight using a padded shoulder harness, and immediately hooks it onto the cable system. Every movement must be completed within seconds to prevent banana sap from dripping onto the peel, a substance that darkens as it dries, leaving permanent black stains that destroy the fruit's commercial value. Once on the line, these suspended banana trains are transported directly to processing facilities without ever touching the ground, eliminating bruising caused by impact. To further reduce friction, farmers often place foam pads or plastic sleeves between hands of bananas, sometimes while the fruit is still growing, ensuring protection throughout the journey. But why must bananas be harvested green? If left to ripen on the plant, respiration accelerates dramatically, softening the flesh, cracking the peel, and rendering the fruit unable to withstand stacking pressure inside shipping containers. Even more critically, the aroma of ripe bananas attracts insects, posing a serious risk of entire shipments being rejected during quarantine inspections at their destination ports. And now, we arrive at the undisputed heavyweight champion of global fruit consumption: watermelon, the single most consumed crop by weight in the world, accounting for nearly 10% of total global fruit consumption, with annual production exceeding 100 million tons. Because watermelons do not continue to ripen after being harvested, the process begins with determining maturity using 3 practical signs. The tendril nearest the stem has dried out, the yellow spot where the fruit rests on the ground has darkened, and most importantly, sound. Skilled harvesters need only tap the rind lightly. A deep, hollow tone signals dense, juicy flesh, while a sharp, higher-pitched sound indicates the fruit is still underripe. As summer arrives, typically from May through August, watermelon fields enter peak harvest season. To maximize speed while protecting the fruit's core, farmers often rely on a human relay system, standing in long lines and passing watermelons hand to hand in a continuous flow. Though it may appear primitive, this manual technique is remarkably effective. The flexibility and coordination of experienced workers absorb impact forces, eliminating the shocks that could bruise the flesh before the fruit ever reaches consumers. Immediately after leaving the relay line, one of the most critical technical stages begins: transport from field to truck. With a water content of up to 92%, watermelons are extremely heavy, typically weighing 5 to 10 kilograms. Yet their rinds are surprisingly sensitive and prone to cracking under strong impacts. In reality, China is not only the world's largest producer of watermelons, but also its largest consumer, accounting for more than half of global production to meet the population's immense demand for hydration during hot seasons. Containing nearly twice the lycopene of fresh tomatoes, along with abundant vitamins A and C, watermelon is not merely a dessert fruit. It is a vital source of water and essential nutrients. If M&M's was born from the Mars Empire and Hershey's grew up alongside America's iconic chocolate factories, Dubai chocolate began with a very ordinary idea. In 2021, Sarah Hamouda, a British-born woman living in Dubai, wanted to turn the flavor of natha tied to her childhood memories into a new kind of chocolate bar by combining. No one expected that this handmade candy would later be amplified by TikTok into a craze with more than 120 million views, pulling the whole world into the hunt for this luxurious sweetness. Dubai has always been a place where everything can be pushed to a level of extravagance, from supercars and gold-plated hotels to gold-plated toilets made simply to assert wealth. So when Dubai chocolate appeared, it did not enter the market like an ordinary candy bar. Each official bar costs around 18.6 USD, several times more expensive than common chocolate in the United States. But the real shock is that this craze also helped push pistachio prices up by more than 34%, turning pistachios into the new viral star of the global confectionery industry. The journey of Dubai chocolate does not begin only in luxury stores or million-view videos, but in large-scale pistachio-growing regions stretching across the hot, dry climate of California, the world's largest pistachio production center. Today, the United States accounts for about 61% of global pistachio production, with nearly all of that output coming from California, especially hot, dry valleys such as the San Joaquin Valley. Iran and Turkey remain two major rivals, but California has risen to the top thanks to farms spanning hundreds of thousands of acres, precision irrigation technology, and a harvesting system that is almost fully mechanized. There was a time when pistachio harvesting was an extremely labor-intensive job, with hundreds of workers using long poles to continuously knock the nuts from the trees under the late summer heat. But today, modern shaking machines have transformed the entire process into a high-speed production line, where each tree can be almost completely harvested in just a few seconds. In September, in California's San Joaquin Valley, the pistachio harvest officially reaches its peak. Hundreds of thousands of hectares of pistachio orchards shake under temperatures nearing 38 degrees Celsius, bringing in tens of thousands of tons of pistachios in a single harvest day. All of this is made possible by these mechanized giants worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. First, the harvesting machine approaches and moves along perfectly aligned rows of trees. As it reaches the trunk, the hydraulic clamp opens and tightly grips the base with thick rubber pads, helping transfer the vibration without tearing the bark or damaging the wood tissue. Immediately afterward, the shaking system generates an extremely powerful vibration force that can exceed 35,000 newtons, equivalent to the combined pulling force of several small cars. This force travels from the trunk up into the branches, causing tens of thousands of ripe pistachios to detach from their stems all at once. In just a few seconds, the entire canopy seems to release a rain of pistachios. Below, large catching frames immediately close around the trunk, collecting the nuts before they touch the ground. From the giant catching frames, the pistachios are pushed onto the conveyor system built directly into the harvesting machine. As the conveyor vibrates gently, leaves, small twigs, dust, and empty nuts begin to separate from the main flow of pistachios. Some machines also use powerful air streams to blow away lighter debris, allowing the nuts to be roughly cleaned right in the orchard without stopping the machine. After that, the pistachios slide through guide chutes and drop straight into large plastic bins. This continuous process not only reduces losses in the orchard, but also minimizes the time the nuts spend under the late summer heat. In 1 hour, this modern harvesting system can cover nearly 2 hectares of pistachio orchard, collecting more than 3 to 6 tons of fresh pistachios while requiring only 2 farmers to monitor the entire process. What makes pistachios special is that after harvesting, they must be processed extremely quickly. If the soft outer hull is left on too long, it can stain the hard shell underneath, directly affecting the selling price. As soon as the plastic bins are filled with pistachios, specialized forklifts quickly lift each bin onto large transport trucks. Some mega-scale farms also use mobile pistachio receiving conveyors to transfer the nuts directly from the harvesting machine into trailers, without the need for intermediate plastic bins. Within about 4 to 6 hours, the entire freshly harvested crop is transported to processing plants. Here, conveyor systems receive the pistachios from the trucks and carry them straight into the factory through enclosed chutes, where the continuous flow of nuts is spread evenly, speed-controlled, and cleared of any remaining large debris before being dropped directly into large water tanks to wash away soil, dry leaves, and fine dust still clinging to the soft outer hull. Immediately after washing, the nuts are sent through a system of high-speed rotating rubber rollers to remove the soft outer hull. This is an extremely important step because if this hull remains attached for too long, its pigments and moisture can stain the hard shell underneath or lead to mold growth. After float sink separation, The pistachios are dried and then transferred to vibrating screens and optical camera systems for sorting, combined with the hands of skilled workers to select the greenest, plumpest, and most perfect nuts. Finally, the hard shell is removed, leaving only the green kernel inside, which continues through manual sorting to eliminate any kernels that do not meet quality standards. The qualified kernels are then roasted with powerful streams of hot air in industrial ovens, allowing the signature rich aroma of pistachios to fully develop, while making the kernels crunchier and more flavorful. After reaching the perfect crunch and richness for Dubai chocolate filling, pistachios can be packed whole for high-end restaurants to process themselves, or ground before packaging. Another form is to grind them directly into a smooth paste to be mixed with cream. The smoother, more naturally green, and more intensely roasted the pistachio cream is, the better it combines with crispy kataifi, creating a rich, nutty filling with the perfect contrast against the outer chocolate coating. The soul of the pistachio filling is now complete. Next comes kataifi, the crispy personality that creates the addictive crack and transforms Dubai chocolate from a rich candy bar into a global food phenomenon. The kataifi strands in Dubai chocolate begin with a mixture that may seem very simple, but actually requires extremely high precision to create hair-thin strands. Flour is poured into a stainless steel mixing tank along with water, then a small amount of salt and oil. A mechanical mixing arm, fitted with a round agitator, continuously stirs in a swirling motion from the center toward the edges of the tank, allowing the batter to blend evenly without forming lumps. Once the mixture reaches a thick consistency, water is added little by little while the batter continues to be stirred until it becomes thin, smooth, and flows evenly. After that, the mixture is transferred to a batter homogenizing tank, fitted with a vertical shaft and a round mixing disc at the bottom. During operation, the disc continuously rotates while moving up and down, creating an even vortex inside the batter. This motion helps break down any remaining small lumps, keeps the mixture smooth, fluid, and prevents it from settling at the bottom before it is transferred to the kataifi strand spraying machine. When the batter is ready, the artisan pours the liquid mixture into a kataifi forming machine, where dozens of tiny nozzles underneath transform it into silk-like strands across the surface of a continuously rotating hot plate. After only a few dozen seconds, once the strands fully cover the hot surface, the artisan skillfully lifts the thin layer of kataifi by hand or with a long stick, lets it cool, and gathers it into light bundles. Although it may look gentle and effortless, the process is actually extremely difficult. A small technical mistake can ruin the entire batch of kataifi instantly. In large-scale kataifi factories, the process is generally the same. The difference is that the machinery is fully automated, from batter mixing and filtering to strand spraying and cooling, allowing production to run 10 to 20 times faster than traditional handmade workshops. However, handmade kataifi is often more expensive because the strands have a more natural texture, greater airiness, and a more distinctive crispness. After being finished, the kataifi is sealed in airtight packaging to preserve its dryness, ready to be sent to chocolate workshops, where it will be roasted with butter, mixed with pistachio cream, and transformed into the signature crispy filling that gives Dubai chocolate its unique appeal. As a premium product with a fresh filling and a complex multi-layered structure, Dubai chocolate is mostly made in artisanal chocolate workshops, high-end bakeries, or boutique dessert stores. After enough couverture chocolate, pistachio cream, tahini, butter, and dried kataifi have been prepared, the process begins by melting the chocolate in a tempering machine to create a smooth, glossy, and stable liquid mixture. Meanwhile, the kataifi is chopped into small pieces and toasted with butter in a large pan until it turns golden, dry, and crispy. This katifi is then mixed with pistachio cream and a little tahini, forming a rich green filling that is fragrant, creamy, smooth, and distinctly crunchy. Once the chocolate is ready, the chocolatier pours a layer of liquid chocolate into the mold, spreads it evenly, and chills it quickly to create a thin outer shell. Then, the katifi pistachio filling is added to the center of the mold, before a final layer of chocolate is poured on top to seal the entire filling inside. Finally, the chocolate bars are chilled until fully hardened, removed from the molds, checked for surface quality, decorated with a little edible gold leaf to enhance the luxurious feel, and packed in premium packaging before being sent to stores or delivered to customers. Many people believe Dubai chocolate is too expensive for its actual taste, and that its rich filling can even become overwhelming quickly. But many others are fascinated by its crisp chocolate shell, thick pistachio filling, and addictive crack sound, to the point that they are willing to pay a high price just to try it. So which team are you on? Team Dubai chocolate is overhyped? Or team, I'd hunt down this viral chocolate at any cost? "90% of consumers, when thinking of matcha, immediately associate it with Japan. Few realize that this fine green powder, revered almost as a national treasure in the land of the rising sun, actually has its origins in its friendly neighbor, China. It was not until the 12th century when the Zen monk Aisai brought tea seeds and powdered tea rituals to Japan that matcha truly took root and was elevated into the way of tea. The real turning point came in 2007, when Starbucks introduced the matcha latte to the global market, taking matcha out of ritual spaces and transforming it into a mainstream beverage, marking the beginning of its worldwide boom. By 2025, the global matcha industry surpassed $4 billion USD, becoming a key ingredient in the modern F&B industry and an endless source of inspiration in popular culture. Despite being the cradle of matcha, Japan contributes only about 25% of global production each year, focusing instead on the premium segment, where 1 kilogram of ceremonial-grade matcha can reach several $1,000s. The remainder of the market belongs to China, with large-scale production, lower costs, and speeds that far exceed classical standards, pushing matcha from a meditative essence into a mass-market commodity. Meanwhile, the United States can be considered the world's largest matcha-obsessed giant, importing more than 1,000 tons each year. Matcha was once celebrated as a symbol of a green lifestyle, healthier than Coke, purer than Pepsi, and a drink of meditation and focus. Yet few know that when overused, matcha can lose its healing qualities, causing certain unwanted side effects such as reduced iron absorption and prolonged fatigue. And that is only a small part of the broader picture of matcha. Now let us return to the point of origin, vast green tea hillsides, where the journey of authentic Japanese matcha begins. Although all come from the same tea plant, Japanese matcha uses only the top 1 or 2 young shaded leaves, known as tencha, and consumed whole, while Chinese green tea, sencha, and English tea use larger sun-grown leaves that are brewed and discarded. Matcha is not simply green tea ground into powder, but the result of a deliberate intervention in light, something most other teas never undergo. Shading is a mandatory ritual and the key that creates the distinctive status of authentic Japanese matcha. Each April, across the tea hills of Kyoto and Aichi, thousands of hectares are covered with dark shade nets capable of blocking up to 90% of sunlight. When light is restricted, the tea plant is forced to alter its growth. Chlorophyll levels rise sharply, and sugars are converted into L-theanine, the amino acid responsible for matcha's smooth, gentle, umami sweetness. By contrast, green tea grown under direct sunlight tends to develop more pronounced bitterness and astringency. To maintain these ideal conditions, Farmers must constantly adjust shade nets and support frames in response to the weather. This is a costly and highly precise process, as even a few days out of sync can cause the leaves to mature too quickly or lose their optimal flavor. It is this significant investment and discipline that define the value of high-grade matcha and explain why it consistently commands a premium price. As the shade is lifted, matcha's journey enters its decisive moment, harvesting the purest young leaves. For the highest grades of matcha, harvesting is not simply about gathering tea leaves. It is a manual craft that demands near absolute precision. While sencha, the most widely consumed green tea in Japan, can be machine harvested to maximize efficiency, ceremonial-grade matcha, the highest tier used in traditional tea ceremony, is always hand-picked, 100%. The harvest takes place during the first flush of spring, when the tea plant emerges from winter dormancy and concentrates its nutrients at the tip. Harvesters select only the top 2 to 3 young leaves, where L-theanine levels are highest and the leaf structure is soft and low in fiber, ideal for producing matcha powder that is fine and well-rounded in flavor. At the core of leaf selection is not sight, but touch. Skilled artisans scarcely need to look, as their fingertips have become the most precise measure of all. However, for culinary-grade matcha used in industrial food production and beverages, human hands alone can no longer keep pace with the massive demand of the modern F&B industry, forcing machines to enter the game. On tea hills with steep, fragmented terrain, a defining feature of many tea-growing regions in Japan, handheld mechanical harvesters become the optimal solution. Operated by 1 or 2 workers, these machines use a horizontally fixed cutting blade to harvest the top layer of leaves in a single pass, while rear-mounted suction fans collect the leaves directly into storage bags. Compared to hand-picking, productivity can increase 4 to 6 times, while still maintaining a degree of control on terrain inaccessible to larger machinery. Another major advance in the mechanization of Japan's tea industry is the self-propelled harvester. High speed, uniform output, and low labor costs make it the near-default choice for commercial tea and mass-market sencha. On large fields, a single machine can harvest in 1 hour what hand-picking would take a full day, with fixed cutting heights and suction systems ensuring standardized yields and tightly controlled costs. Even so, machines are limited by preset cutting heights and cannot distinguish leaves at peak flavor. That is why, for high-grade matcha, where every leaf shapes the final quality, human hands remain irreplaceable. Immediately after harvest, batches of young tea leaves are transported to the processing facility as quickly as possible. A window of 1 to 3 hours after picking is considered a safe threshold, helping to limit oxidation and preserve the leaves' natural flavor. At the matcha factory, upon arrival, the leaves are spread evenly onto conveyor belts in thin layers rather than piled together. Some facilities also use gentle airflow from fans to cool the leaf surface, releasing heat accumulated during transport and preventing the leaves from self-steaming when compressed. But this fresh state lasts only a very short time. To lock in every biological change still unfolding, the tea leaves must move immediately into the steaming stage. At this stage, freshly harvested leaves are treated with non-pressurized steam, a technique that may appear simple, yet one that Japan has preserved and refined over centuries. The goal is not to cook the leaves like vegetables, where heat dulls color and breaks down structure, but to arrest biological reactions at a critical moment. A light veil of steam briefly envelops the leaf surface, just long enough to deactivate oxidative enzymes without stripping the leaves of their vitality. As a result, the green color not only remains intact but becomes clearer, deeper, and more stable, while the raw, harsh notes of young leaves are effectively eliminated. The entire steaming process lasts only 20 to 40 seconds, and is precisely controlled in sync with the conveyor system. Though it occupies only a brief moment within the overall production line, Steaming is a decisive step. Without it, the leaves would continue to oxidize like black tea, and the full premium potential of matcha would be lost immediately. After steaming, the tea leaves must be dried almost immediately to stabilize their structure and prevent residual moisture from continuing to affect the leaf cells. Unlike sencha, leaves intended for matcha are not rolled or twisted. Instead, they are dried flat, using a multi-stage hot air drying system, with temperature and duration tightly controlled, typically around 80 to 100 degrees Celsius for up to 40 minutes. The goal is not to shape the leaves, but to remove moisture evenly while preserving leaf structure and chlorophyll content. The result of this process is tencha, the indispensable foundation of authentic Japanese matcha, ready for the next stages of refinement. Next, the fully dried tea leaves are fed into a refining system where veins and stems are removed almost entirely. This stage is typically carried out using specialized separation machines that combine mechanical vibration, airflow, and multi-layered sieving to sort the material by weight and structural flexibility. The heavier fibrous stems and veins are discarded, while only the thinnest, softest portions of the leaf are retained. This step is highly selective. Even small amounts of residual stem can compromise the smoothness and flavor of the final powder. The outcome is refined tencha, uniform in structure, consistent in quality, and brought to an ideal state for what follows. Once refined tencha has been rested and its aroma stabilized, it is coarsely cut using low-speed rotary cutters, producing uniform tencha flakes and granules. This intermediate form prepares the leaves for the most critical stage of the entire process, grinding them into matcha powder. Contrary to common assumption, matcha is not produced using high-speed industrial grinding systems. Instead, the traditional and virtually irreplaceable method is the granite stone mill, a technology that has existed in Japan for more than 800 years and remains in use today. Each mill consists of two circular stone discs. The lower stone remains fixed, while the upper stone rotates slowly on a vertical axis. Hand-carved spiral grooves on the stone surface are designed to grind the leaves while gently guiding the powder outward. The mechanism may appear simple, but it is remarkably precise. Rather than being torn apart or crushed as in industrial mills, tencha is gradually milled between the two stone surfaces. The rotation speed is extremely slow, typically around 30 to 60 revolutions per minute, to minimize friction and heat buildup. Even a slight rise in temperature can degrade chlorophyll, dull umami, and compromise the refined character of high-grade matcha. This deliberate slowness results in an almost paradoxical output by modern industrial standards. A single stone mill produces only about 30 to 40 grams of matcha per hour, barely enough for a few dozen bowls of tea. In return, the powder achieves an ultra-fine, highly uniform particle size, dissolves smoothly in water, and delivers a texture and flavor structure that metal grinders cannot replicate. While industrial mills can produce dozens of kilograms per hour, they rely on intense mechanical force, generate significant heat, and trade quality for speed. For high-grade matcha, that trade-off is unacceptable. This is why the stone mill, slow, ancient, and exacting, remains the gold standard. Not because of tradition, but because even today, no technology does it better. Once the powder reaches its ideal state, fine, uniform, and vividly green, packaging begins. Matcha can be packaged in various formats, depending on its intended use and market segment. The most common is the stick pack format for beverages, widely used for matcha lattes and mixed drinks, and packaged fully automatically. Another format is paper sachets or tea bags, designed for convenient everyday consumption. In the premium segment, matcha is typically sealed in airtight metal tins to protect the powder from light, moisture, and oxygen, the three elements that can degrade color and flavor. Regardless of the format, packaging is not merely the final step, but a critical line of defense that preserves matcha in its optimal condition until it reaches the consumer. Here's a fun fact. Mention corned beef, and roughly 80% of people, even in the US, the UK, or Ireland, assume it has something to do with corn. In reality, there isn't a single kernel of corn in corned beef. The word corned comes from the Old English phrase corns of salt, referring to the large, corn-sized salt crystals used to cure the meat, the key technique that allowed beef to be stored for months before refrigeration existed. Compared with fresh beef, corned beef retains the same protein content but is noticeably saltier due to the deep curing process. This very trait made it responsible for more than 20% of the protein intake of British and American troops during World War II. The famous Frey Bentos cans not only sustained Allied forces, but became so strategically important that Nazi Germany sought every possible way to disrupt the supply lines carrying them. Today, Brazil, Argentina, and the United States form the three powerhouses dominating the global canned corned beef market. Though much smaller than the fresh beef industry, this crucial segment still generates over $9 billion annually and appears across every strategic distribution channel. From supermarkets and emergency stockpiles to humanitarian aid programs and long-range maritime logistics. And now let me take you to South America, the heartland of Zebu cattle, where more than 80% of Brazil's national herd is raised on vast savanna pastures stretching for thousands of kilometers. Here, the dry tropical climate, mineral-rich grasses, and wide-open landscapes create an ecosystem that only Zebu, with their large sweat glands, thick skin, and innate heat tolerance, can convert into steady, year-round weight gain. Zebu calves are born directly on pasture, nurse from their mothers during the early months, and develop a digestive system specialized for processing coarse forage, an advantage that allows them to gain nearly 1 kilogram per day on pasture alone, without costly grain-based rations. At around 18 months of age, when they approach 400 kilograms, they enter the final acceleration phase, focused on building muscle mass, tightening firmness, increasing lean meat yield, developing long muscle fibers, and maintaining structural stability, all ideal characteristics for industrial processing and large-scale production. Once they reach market weight, typically around 500 kilograms per animal, they are moved into high-throughput slaughter and grading facilities. The result? Brazil, powered by the Zebu Foundation, exports over 2.3 million tons of beef annually, securing its position as the world's largest supplier to beef processing systems, including the global corned beef production chain. Thanks to low production costs, consistent weight gain, and competitive emissions per kilogram of meat, even under intense heat, the Nelore has become the only cattle breed capable of operating smoothly at the massive scale needed to support a multi-billion-dollar industry. Leaving the pasture, the cattle officially enter a pivotal stage of transformation. From a living organism into the foundational raw material that begins the entire corned beef production process within the factory. At the start of the process, the cattle are placed in a restraint box and rendered unconscious using a captive bolt gun, aimed precisely at the center of the forehead. The shot instantly disrupts central nervous activity, causing the animal to lose consciousness almost immediately and feel no pain. This step is designed to ensure the highest level of humane slaughter. After the hide and internal organs are removed, the massive beef carcass, weighing hundreds of kilograms, is lifted onto the splitting line, where steel and precision meet in every cut. Industrial bandsaws, running at about 3,000 revolutions per minute, slice cleanly through the thick backbone while maintaining a straight, smooth, and perfectly aligned cut. Guided precisely along the spinal axis, the carcass separates into two symmetrical halves in both shape and muscle structure. This splitting step allows the meat to chill faster, handle more easily, and be butchered with greater accuracy, ensuring that every process afterward runs efficiently, consistently, and to the highest quality standards. After the carcass processing stage, the operation moves into the butchering phase, the direct foundation for corned beef production. Around 70% of the raw material comes from the brisket, the front chest area where the muscles work constantly as the animal stands and moves. This gives the meat thick, coarse fibers interlaced with marbled fat, creating its signature juiciness and rich flavor. The remaining portion mainly comes from the hind leg muscles, rich in connective tissue and collagen, components that help the meat hold its shape, stay tender, and develop a gelatinous texture during long cooking. Selecting the right muscle groups not only determines the tenderness, texture, and flavor absorption of corned beef, but also showcases the butcher's anatomical precision and refined knife sense. Those who can identify each muscle group simply by the grain's direction and the meat's subtle elasticity. Immediately afterward, the meat enters the curing stage, the critical phase that determines the flavor, color, and microbiological stability of corned beef. The meat blocks are placed into standard brine tanks containing water, salt, nitrite, and a precisely measured blend of spices. On average, each piece of meat absorbs 10 to 12% of its own weight in brine, allowing the solution to penetrate deep into every muscle fiber. At the same time, many factories use high-pressure brine injection systems with needles as fine as 1.2 millimeters to deliver the solution directly into the muscle tissue. This technique reduces the curing time from several days to just a few hours, while ensuring the salt concentration and signature pink color are evenly distributed throughout the entire batch. After the curing phase, the meat moves to the heating stage, where the entire marination process is activated and completed. The beef blocks are slow cooked in industrial steam kettles for 3 to 5 hours, depending on the thickness and muscle structure of each cut. Throughout cooking, the temperature is tightly controlled, maintained at a minimum of 70 degrees Celsius, the ideal point for protein coagulation, moisture retention, and the conversion of collagen into gelatin, which gives corned beef its signature tender, springy texture. Surrounding steam ensures even heat distribution, preventing surface drying or fiber shrinkage. Once cooked, the meat is gradually cooled to stabilize its structure before moving on to the next processing stages. After cooking, the process moves to the product forming stage, where the final texture of the corned beef is defined. Here, the meat is fed into an industrial shredding machine, equipped with dual augers rotating at over 1,800 revolutions per minute, combined with high-speed cutting blades that tear the fibers along their natural grain. The process is powerful enough to separate the strands, yet gentle enough to retain elasticity and internal moisture, ensuring that the meat inside the can remains loose, juicy, and authentically textured, much like hand-pulled beef. For the canned corned beef line, the process expands into a fully enclosed and highly precise production chain. An automatic compression system packs the meat into cans under high pressure, eliminating all residual air to prevent swelling during heating. Each can is measured to the gram, with a weight deviation of no more than 0.5%. After sealing, the entire batch is transferred to high-pressure steam retorts, where it is sterilized at 121 degrees Celsius for over 90 minutes. Conditions that eliminate microorganisms and allow the product to be stored safely for 3 to 5 years without preservatives. Once cooled, each can undergoes rigorous inspection, lid scanning, metal detection, and automated defect checks using optical sensors, before being coated, labeled, and packed for distribution. The entire operation integrates thermal technology, precision mechanics, and digital inspection, turning every can of corned beef into a perfectly stable, safe, and industrially refined product. Another approach is that, after marination, instead of being sent directly to the cooker, the meat is fed into a cutting machine, where rotating spiral blades slice it into uniform chunks. These pieces are then packed into cans first, before being placed in high-pressure steam retorts, where the cooking process takes about 90 minutes at 120 degrees Celsius. This method helps preserve the meat's shape inside the can, ensures even flavor absorption, and reduces moisture loss. Compared to the traditional process, cooking first and shredding or cutting afterward, this approach saves energy, improves consistency, and is especially efficient for large-scale canned corned beef production. However, among the many choices at deli counters or cured meat shelves, one product is often mistaken for corned beef: pastrami, a smoked meat of Romanian Jewish origin, elevated by New York delis in the early 20th century into a culinary icon. Both dishes share the same foundation, the curing process using nitrite salt, mainly with cuts from the brisket, where thick fibers and strong connective tissues can withstand long cooking times while developing a deep, stable flavor. The key difference lies in how the flavor is defined. Corned beef develops its taste from the inside out, through brine infusion and slow cooking, creating a rich saltiness and a uniform, tender texture. Pastrami, by contrast, builds flavor from the outside in, coated in a dry spice rub, smoked at low heat to form a dark crust and layered smoky aroma, then steamed to achieve tenderness. The result is two distinct experiences, born from the same roots. In New York delis, pastrami is sliced fresh and served hot, releasing its full aroma and silky texture, while corned beef serves a different role, built for stability, longevity, and consistency, forming the backbone of the global canned meat industry for nearly a century. Once considered a cheap, nameless fish, few people realize that pollock is quietly feeding the world, with an annual output of over 3 million tons. Even more remarkable, more than 90% of this volume is frozen almost immediately after leaving the water, turning the ocean into a massive, industrial-scale freezing line. As soon as they are brought on deck, the fish are dumped into the intake hopper and fed directly into the vessel through an enclosed conveyor system, operating continuously at speeds of 1 to 2 meters per second. A circulating cold seawater washing system not only removes slime and impurities, but also rapidly lowers the core temperature to near 0 degrees Celsius within minutes, effectively halting decomposition from the very beginning. From here, they move straight into a filleting machine, where high-speed blades rotate with remarkable stability, precisely aligned along the body axis. The thin, razor-sharp blades split the fish along the natural grain of the muscle, minimizing damage and preserving the integrity of the flesh. Immediately after splitting, the flesh passes through a skinning system, where thin blades run tightly along the surface, before moving on to a pin bone inspection stage under high-intensity backlighting to remove any remaining bones. After the final cleaning step, each piece is sorted to precise size and thickness, then placed onto metal trays and fed into a plate freezing system at around 35 degrees Celsius. Here, chilled plates press tightly from both sides, transferring cold directly into the product at extremely high speed, allowing the core temperature to drop rapidly within a short time. Thanks to this contact freezing mechanism, the entire structure of the flesh is effectively locked almost instantly, minimizing the formation of large ice crystals and preserving the firmness, color, and original quality of the fish. Once out of the freezing chamber, the product undergoes a rapid inspection before being sealed and transferred into a continuous cold chain. This entire closed-loop process is typically completed in under 2 hours, shorter than a domestic flight, yet enough to transform freshly caught fish into a globally distributed commodity. At the next stop, we step into a frozen paddy production system, where thin slices of meat just a few centimeters thick are produced at industrial speed, forming a critical link in the nearly $760 billion global hamburger industry each year. The journey of a burger patty doesn't begin on the grill. It starts at the meat selection stage, where structure, juiciness, and texture are already determined from the outset. To create patties that are tender and flavorful, factories don't rely on random cuts, but instead use carefully calculated blends. The shoulder maintains structure during cooking, the brisket enhances juiciness, and about 15 to 20% natural fat helps retain moisture within each fiber. After being sliced, the meat blocks move directly into industrial grinders, where a rotating screw applies high pressure to push the meat through perforated plates of standardized size, forming uniform strands. The grinding speed is tightly controlled to minimize heat buildup, preserving both color and protein structure. Once the meat is processed to the desired particle size, the mixture is transferred to a blending system, where oil, salt, pepper, onion powder, and moisture-retaining and binding additives are incorporated in precise ratios, creating a uniform mixture ready to move directly into the patty-forming machine. In this section, each portion of meat is fed into a forming machine, where circular molds press down with gram-level precision, ensuring uniform weight and thickness. At the same time, the signature surface grooves are stamped directly onto the patty, allowing heat to distribute evenly during grilling, and preventing edge curling on surfaces exceeding 200 degrees Celsius. Immediately after being cooked, the patties enter a rapid cooling stage, where powerful streams of cold air are blasted directly onto the surface, bringing the temperature down in an instant. At the end of the line, automated robots pick, weigh, and seal each portion within seconds, ensuring consistent portion control and airtight packaging. These precisely handled patties are then transferred seamlessly into a continuous cold chain, ready to be distributed across the global hamburger supply network. With a water content of up to 90%, fresh strawberries are among the most perishable fruits, leading to significant waste if not handled properly. That's why frozen strawberries have completely changed the game, extending shelf life from just 6 days to up to 6 months, turning a delicate crop into a highly profitable commodity. Unlike conventional handling, strawberries in industrial processing skip the initial washing stage and move straight into the destemming machine, where each berry is guided and precisely positioned before the dirtiest part is removed in a single motion. The cutting blade cleanly separates the stem along with the area most prone to microbial contamination, fast enough to preserve the fruit's fresh, original state before any quality degradation can occur. Immediately after, the strawberries enter a recirculating washing system, where cold water combined with air agitation penetrates every tiny pore on the surface, removing dirt and residues without damaging their fragile structure. As soon as they leave the wash tank, they don't pause. Instead, they are instantly dried using vibration and cold air, stripping away surface moisture within seconds and creating ideal conditions for the next stage. From here, the entire flow moves directly into IQF freezing at -4 degrees Celsius, where each berry is individually frozen within minutes, preserving its shape, color, and juiciness as if freshly harvested. Once stabilized, cameras and sensors rapidly scan the product stream, removing any substandard pieces before packaging. By the time they leave the line, the strawberries are fully stabilized, sealed, and transferred straight into a continuous cold chain, ready to travel thousands of kilometers with virtually no loss in original quality. As the world's most widely produced tropical fruit, Up to 80% of exported mangoes never reach fresh fruit shelves, but instead move straight into industrial freezing lines just hours after harvest, forming a global value chain worth over $3 billion each year. Right after leaving the orchard, mangoes don't go directly into freezing. Instead, they pass through a high-speed cleaning station where pressurized water jets at around 2 to 4 bar continuously remove dirt, sap, and microorganisms from the surface within just 2-3 minutes, while the washing water is recirculated and filtered through multiple layers. From there, the fruit moves onto an optical sorting conveyor, where industrial cameras instantly analyze color, size, and ripeness to select only those suitable for freezing. After passing the sorting stage, each mango is secured on a specialized holder to maintain a stable position throughout processing. High-speed rotating blades then peel off the skin within seconds, closely following the fruit's curved surface while preserving nearly all of the flesh inside. Thanks to this level of precision, material loss is significantly reduced, saving around 15% compared to manual peeling methods. Immediately afterward, synchronized gripping mechanisms and cutting blades separate the two thick cheeks in just 1 to 2 seconds per fruit, sliding them directly onto the next conveyor. The remaining flesh around the seed is not wasted but collected separately to produce puree, juice, or diced frozen mango, recovering an additional 10 to 20% of raw material value within the same processing line. Next, the mango may undergo a brief blanching step or move straight into deep cold airflow at around -35°C to -40°C, where the temperature drops rapidly, forming ultra-fine ice crystals that preserve juiciness and cellular structure. Finally, the product is immediately transferred into sealed packaging and enters a continuous cold chain, completing the entire process. Leaving the mango factory behind, we arrive at a frozen broccoli plant, an industry generating over $5 billion annually and accounting for nearly 75% of the global broccoli market. The journey of frozen broccoli begins as each head is placed onto a cutting conveyor, where rotating blades calibrated to standard sizes quickly separate the thick stalk from the florets within seconds, producing uniform pieces from the start. From here, the florets move directly into a recirculating wash tank, where water at controlled pressure removes soil and insects while preserving the delicate structure. Immediately after cleaning, the broccoli is transferred to a blanching tank at around 95°C for nearly 2 minutes, a step that locks in the vibrant green color and halts enzyme activity that could degrade quality. Once the heat is removed, the product moves straight into a deep freezing chamber at approximately -40°C, where each piece is individually frozen within minutes, locking in its natural moisture, shape, and crisp texture while preventing cellular damage and quality loss. Finally, the broccoli is sealed in airtight packaging and enters a continuous cold chain, carefully maintained at stable low temperatures, ensuring it can travel long distances and still arrive in kitchens worldwide, from supermarkets to family tables, without losing its freshness. For most fruits on the market, deep freezing is essentially the end of any fresh structure. Yet, blueberries are a rare exception, almost paradoxical, because in many cases their frozen form can retain nutrients even better than those sold as fresh. And to produce frozen blueberries, the fruit doesn't pause at any intermediate stage but flows immediately into a continuously moving wash stream where fine dust and field residue are removed within the first few seconds. Right after that, as the berries spread across a bright conveyor ahead, workers positioned along both sides quickly remove any remaining stems and leaf fragments, a seemingly small task that must be performed with precision at speeds of thousands of berries per minute, ensuring the entire downstream process never gets quality bottlenecks from the very start. As the process moves into sorting, each blueberry no longer simply travels along the conveyor, but is inspected by high-speed camera systems operating 20 to 40 times faster than the human eye, continuously scanning tens of thousands of berries per minute to detect even the slightest color deviations that are nearly invisible to manual inspection. Infrared sensors can even read the internal condition of each berry, identifying those that are beginning to soften from the core, before compressed air jets react within milliseconds to instantly remove them from the product stream. Because a single defective berry slipping through could compromise an entire batch of frozen blueberries downstream. Immediately after sorting, the blueberries enter the stage that determines overall quality: rapid freezing at around -35 to -40 degrees Celsius. The berries are spread into a thin layer on a conveyor, while high-velocity cold air flows through the gaps, extracting heat almost instantly. Within just minutes, the core temperature drops low enough to lock the cellular structure, preventing the formation of large ice crystals that could rupture cell walls. Thanks to this ultra-fast freezing rate, blueberries retain their plumpness, natural color, and flavor almost unchanged after thawing. After freezing, the berries pass through a multi-level vibrating screening system, where each piece is fully separated to meet IQF, individual quick frozen standards. Clumped or undersized berries are removed, ensuring complete uniformity. Next, the blueberries are rapidly transferred into a deep chilled packaging area, where they are portioned, dehumidified, and sealed within minutes. The entire process runs continuously, allowing each berry to preserve its just harvested quality, ready for global distribution. The creation of Peeps was essentially a crazy industrial breakthrough. Back when the candy was still produced by the Rada Candy Company, each batch of marshmallow took nearly 27 hours to complete. But after Just Born acquired the company in 1953, Bob Bourne turned the process into an engineering challenge, cutting production time down to less than 6 minutes and transforming Peeps from a seasonal Easter candy into an American cultural icon for more than 70 years. And once Peeps were no longer just an Easter candy, they began creating an entire trend of their own, eating challenges and speed competitions. What started as a soft, sugary marshmallow tied to a holiday became something people no longer simply enjoyed, but competed to conquer. One champion even managed to swallow 255 Peeps in just 5 minutes to win $1,750. Peeps are basically made from 4 main ingredients: sugar, corn syrup, gelatin, and air. Among them, sugar alone accounts for around 30 grams, or roughly 71% of the weight of a single package. And because of that extremely high sugar content, consuming too many Peeps in a short period of time can quickly turn into an unexpected visit to the dentist, along with a range of other health problems. But to produce the enormous amount of sugar needed for marshmallow production lines like Peeps, the journey actually begins far away from the candy factories, in the vast sugarcane fields stretching across thousands of hectares in the southern United States, where each harvest season marks the very first link in the massive production chain behind them. In the vast sugarcane growing regions of Florida and Louisiana, farmers still burn the fields before harvest to clear away dry leaves, drive out insects, and expose the sugar-rich stalks, allowing harvesting across massive plantations to happen much faster. But along with that speed comes falling ash like black snow, rising PM 2.5 pollution levels, and the risk of weakening the soil's microbial system. That is why every controlled burn in Florida must be strictly regulated according to time and wind direction, to prevent fires from spreading out of control. Because of the increasingly visible environmental consequences, many countries are gradually moving away from pre-harvest sugarcane burning and shifting toward a cleaner and more precise method. Harvesting fresh sugarcane with modern mechanized machines capable of processing entire fields in just a few hours. The process begins right at ground level, where two high-speed rotating blades work like giant industrial scissors, cutting the cane stalks at the exact point where sugar concentration is highest. But even after the stalks are cut from the roots, their journey is far from over. Just above the harvester's cabin, a second set of blades carries out the next stage of processing, rapidly chopping the more than 2-meter-long stalks into evenly sized pieces around 20 to 30 centimeters long. This size is carefully calculated to improve transportation, cleaning, and especially the efficiency of crushing at sugar mills. While the chopping process takes place, a powerful fan system simultaneously blows dry leaves and the lighter cane tops away from the mainstream of material. What may seem like discarded waste actually plays a very important role, as these leftovers remain on the field as a natural organic cover that helps retain soil moisture, reduce erosion, and return nutrients to the soil for the next sugarcane crop. When the cutting process is performed correctly, the remaining cane roots beneath the ground can still regenerate for 3 to 5 consecutive harvests, helping farmers save around 20 to 30% in costs for future growing seasons. As soon as the sugarcane leaves the harvester, the chopped stalks are quickly transferred into a transportation system that operates like a miniature logistics network across the fields. Specialized hauling vehicles can receive dozens of tons of cane in a single trip before transferring it to multi-axle trucks capable of carrying around 40 to 60 tons directly to the factory. This near-immediate transportation speed is a key factor that helps the modern sugar industry maintain stable sugar quality before the cane enters large-scale processing lines. As the sugarcane trucks enter the receiving area, the raw material passes through a large-scale mechanical processing unit positioned at the very beginning of the production line, where massive rotating drums, several meters in diameter, continuously tumble and mix the entire flow of cane. At the same time, high-powered air systems gradually remove the remaining dry leaves left after transportation, creating a more uniform stream of raw material. From there, the cane moves into a high-pressure washing section, where most of the soil and external impurities attached to the stalks are quickly removed, significantly reducing equipment wear and helping maintain consistent raw material quality. After passing through the pre-processing area, the sugarcane is fed into a high-speed cutting unit positioned at the entrance of the crushing line. Here, the stalks are chopped into even smaller pieces to create the ideal material condition for the juice extraction stage that follows. Thanks to this size standardization step, the crushing system no longer has to handle sugarcane stalks over 2 meters long, but instead receives a more uniform and controllable flow of material. Immediately afterward, the material stream enters a series of massive steel crushing rollers weighing dozens of tons. These rollers rotate continuously to compress and crush each layer of fiber through a process lasting around 3 to 5 minutes, releasing most of the sugar stored inside the cane and transferring it into the factory's first raw juice stream before moving on to further processing stages. One notable detail is that the remaining fiber after crushing is not discarded. Instead, it is immediately reused as fuel for the factory's boilers, supplying roughly 70 to 90% of the heat energy needed throughout the production season. After crushing, the raw sugarcane juice still contains many tiny suspended particles, so it cannot move directly to the concentration stage. The liquid is first heated and then transferred into large settling tanks, where dirt and other impurities sink to the bottom and are removed. The clarified juice is then sent to an evaporation system, where it is boiled under vacuum conditions until it thickens into a golden syrup. From here, the syrup is pumped into the cooking stage, where it is further concentrated by boiling under vacuum conditions. This is also the point where small sugar crystals are added to trigger the crystallization process. Once the raw sugar mass leaves the cooking vessel, it is immediately transferred into high-speed centrifuges that spin rapidly to separate the molasses still coating the crystals, leaving behind raw sugar with a clear and stable grain structure. However, the crystals still retain a considerable amount of moisture, so they continue through a hot air drying system, where the moisture level is quickly reduced. After cooling, the sugar moves into the refining section for color removal before entering a sealed packaging line. At this stage, the ingredient is finally ready to be supplied to Peeps, where these refined sugar crystals become the structural foundation for hundreds of millions of marshmallow candies each year. And once all the ingredients are in place, the real Peeps production process finally begins. Sugar, corn syrup, water, and gelatin are first heated to around 240 degrees Fahrenheit to create a hot, thick, and uniform marshmallow syrup. The mixture is then whipped at high speed to inject air into it, while the gelatin traps millions of tiny air bubbles, transforming the dense syrup into a light, soft, and fluffy marshmallow mass. Meanwhile, in a separate system, granulated sugar is mixed with food coloring to create colorful batches of yellow, pink, and blue sugar used to coat the candy's surface. Among them, the classic yellow version has remained the best-selling and most recognizable Peeps color for decades. From the mixing vessel, the smooth marshmallow mixture is pumped directly onto conveyor belts, where shaping technology transforms it into tiny chicks and bunnies in an instant. What makes this process remarkable is that the material, still soft and sticky, can be extruded into nearly perfectly uniform shapes over and over again at extremely high speed. This automated molding step became one of the biggest technological breakthroughs, compressing a process that once took 27 hours down to less than 6 minutes. While the surface is still sticky, a stream of air blows colored sugar upward onto the candy, coating it completely and creating the sparkling outer layer that has become a signature of Peeps. As the tiny chicks and bunnies emerge from their sugar coating, sensors on the production line immediately detect their position, so another machine can place 2 edible wax dots as eyes, a tiny detail, yet enough to transform a lifeless marshmallow shape into the instantly recognizable face of Peeps. Right afterward, the candies move onto a conveyor system that removes excess sugar. The remaining colored sugar is not wasted, but collected and fed back into the beginning of the production line. As a result, about 97% of the material is recycled, while the remaining 3% is converted into energy. After being coated in colored sugar, the Peeps chicks are still slightly soft and sticky. So instead of being completely separated, they remain connected in strips of 4 or 5. The signature packaging style that has become an iconic part of Peeps for decades. These marshmallow strips are then automatically arranged into plastic trays by conveyor systems, which keep their spacing and shape fixed to prevent deformation while moving at high speed. Next, the trays pass through a wrapping system, where a thin plastic film is stretched and heat-sealed tightly around the entire product. This process not only preserves the marshmallow's signature soft and fluffy texture, but also protects the outer sugar coating from moisture and air exposure. After sealing, each tray continues through automated inspection systems and metal detectors before being packed into boxes and shipped to supermarkets across the United States. From vast sugarcane fields to marshmallow production lines operating almost non-stop, Peeps are far more than just a simple candy. They are the result of an enormous industrial system working behind the scenes. And perhaps it is this very journey that has turned these tiny marshmallow chicks into a lasting American icon across generations.